Hello and welcome to the Con Couple. I'm Richard.
I'm happy there's not a tree on our yard anymore.
Yes, this is true. You also have a human name, but
It's Caroline.
thank you. And we go to a frankly baffling number of cons every year.
I would say we go to too few conventions.
Thank you. So yes, if you've been following this podcast, you know the ongoing drama of the tree saga,
Yep.
but we are glad to say they finally got rid of the tree on our yard.
Although there's been more weather, so maybe another tree fell on our house while we're out.
I think our pet sitter would have mentioned that. But yes, so it took them 18 days, but the trees are gone. And we can get to our front door again without having to, like, you've been having to duck under that thing, so imagine how it's been for me.
Yeah. Life is harder if you're a tall man.
No, it's not. It's really not.
Mm-hmm.
We just have more back problems than everybody else. It's fine.
You should go to physical therapy. Our insurance covers it.
I know. I have not had time to organize any of that.
Yeah.
So, where have we been this week, my
Why do
darling?
you always make me say that? It's in the title of the episode.
But some people might just be listening to this.
What?
It's entirely possible some people are listening to the playlist. We have a playlist.
We do.
Yeah.
Also remember to like and subscribe or
Yeah.
whatever.
Do all the YouTube pleasantries. If you're listening there, if you're listening to it on like Spotify and all those other places, do whatever you do on Spotify. I don't know.
We were at Bewhiskered,
Yeah.
which is another furry convention in North Carolina.
Yeah.
Also, its acronym is apparently BWS.
Yep.
And I know that because the Flash Fiction person from last week emailed me, which I very much appreciate.
Yep. And they were like, yeah, I think you remember. I think I remember you saying you were going to be at BWS. I'm like, yep. So yeah. So furry conventions.
Furry conventions.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think we need to go through too much of the basics.
No, this one is our first con in North Carolina.
Yep. Yeah. The drive on this one is
Long.
6.5-ish hours.
It was closer to 7 on the way down. It's just further back on the way up. So
Yep.
This will probably be a longer episode just because we need to vent for time.
Yep. We've got time to kill.
As a reminder, we record this in our cars using hands-free lapel mics that are not good quality, as you can indicate by this.
But yeah, so we are, in keeping with all, state driving laws and all that malarkey. So,
Yes.
Bewhiskered, why did we choose to go to this con?
It was mostly because it was the only con I could find within driving distance over Easter weekend, and I wanted to get this food item I really, really liked because I used to live in North Carolina before I worked at the university I currently work. I worked at Wake Forest University in North Carolina, and I really like it here. I will say this is one of the states I actually most wanted to work. In Ohio were my top 2 choices. I know those are weird choices for states you would most want to live, but they were my top 2 choices. So
I had no strong opinions because at that point I was still living in the UK.
that's true. It's your first time in this state.
Yep, I think.
When else would you have been here?
Yeah.
You've not been here with me, so unless you went here with your parents.
No, definitely didn't do that. It was mostly just we didn't drive through it on the way back from anywhere else, I don't think.
No, Texas would not have gone this route.
Yeah. So yeah.
So yeah, I don't know why I like the state so much, but I do.
Yep.
It's just a kind of interesting blend of North and South, I guess.
Yep.
And for the record, where I live has nothing to do with who that state voted for in various elections. It's just vibes based.
Yep. I'm about to sneeze.
Yeah, you've also been sick this weekend.
Yeah, I think I picked up a mild cold last week. So, it is mild. If I was worried about spreading anything, unpleasant, I would not have gone.
Mm-hmm.
But it's mostly just been my throat's been a little bit on the scratchy side, and today I've started sneezing. It's following the standard cold protocols.
Code protocols.
Yep. And the thing is, furry heads do actually work really well just as, masks.
Yeah, during the pandemic, there was a lot of policies about when a fursuit head counted as a mask or not,
Yep.
generally.
But, again, shush you. We have a very judgmental car. So, yeah. So, specifically, we're actually in Durham, North Carolina.
You were so excited about this.
I was very happy. For anybody who doesn't know, I'm from Durham, England.
Mm-hmm.
And I got to make that joke repeatedly throughout the weekend usually to the mild confusion of a furry. It was great.
Yes.
Again, you did point out, because so normally we buy our badge in advance, and normally you do it.
Hmm.
Do you want to explain why you didn't this time?
Yeah, for whatever reason, they shut down pre-registration 3 weeks before the con, and that wasn't. There was a lot of information this weekend that wasn't as easily communicated on their website as I thought it should be a lot of the time. And one of them was when pre-registration closed. In fairness, I also admit this was kind of a
Last-ish minute decision?
yeah. Like I found out you were gonna have Friday off, and I was like, oh, we should take advantage of that. What cons are available? And then it turned out there was like nothing in our area, so I'm just like, do I want to cave into a drive this long? And I'm like, yeah, why not? So we did.
Yep.
So we went to this one, and I also found it interesting. This one had very little overlap with Furthermore.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody I recognized from both.
No.
Like, not a criticism, just interesting.
Yeah. They're not that far apart from each other comparatively, but I do understand that fur cons are expensive, and most people are less insane than we are.
Yep.
And I also know that there's a fairly big fur con in Las Vegas this weekend that's probably pulling a lot of people who can't afford to go to a lot of fur cons, because
That is true.
I feel like most people would pick Vegas over North Carolina. It's just, for us in particular, I don't do planes unless I absolutely have to.
Yeah. I've been to Vegas once. I went to a sword fighting convention there. At some point, I should do like a retrospective on the only convention I ever went to before I knew you.
Yeah, I really do want to go to Vegas just because I don't gamble, but like the kitschness of Vegas is actually something that I really enjoy because I love like big theatrical kitschy things. It's evidenced by the fact that I love cons.
Yeah.
But part of the problem is now it's almost nearly as expensive as Disney World, which boo, and B, it's far away, and C, it's hot. So
Yep.
and D, there's gambling. I don't really care about the gambling aspects at all.
Again, when I went for Combat Con in like 2016-ish, somewhere in that, I'd have to check to see what year it was. Yeah, I basically, because I was flying in, I deliberately gave myself like a buffer zone of about, I think it was a day or two on the either side of the con. So I got to just kind of hang around Vegas for a couple of extra days outside of the convention I was going to. I didn't gamble at all. I had no strong desire to. Like, maybe I should have just put like $20 on something, but
Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually gambled. Like, not really. Like, if you count like gotcha pawn machines or claw machines, then sure. But I already assume that money's already going to dumb stuff to begin with. I'm not expecting to win more money from that, obviously.
Yeah.
Anything that involves me using money to win more money, I've never done, except if it was like maybe like one of those 50-50 raffle things. And even then, it was like mostly just so I could give money to charity.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, like I've done, like university, everybody pays $5 buy-in for the, for poker, and whoever wins buys the pizza. So basically, you're all just paying for the pizza and you're having fun with each other. Like, I've done that kind of thing.
Well, like, Vegas gambling with people is sexist most of the time, and Vegas gambling with machines is just weirdly complicated.
Yep.
Every time I stare at a slot machine, I don't understand what any of it means.
Yeah, that's kind of the point.
So yeah.
So we'd rather be in Durham, is what we're saying.
Yeah. And yeah, I'm looking at doing more cons in North Carolina, because this is the first con I think I've been to ever where I've like not wanted to leave because I wanted to stay in the state. Like, that has never happened before. So yeah, part of the problem is the most major con here is GalaxyCon, and I don't want to go to more GalaxyCons.
Nope, we ain't supporting them.
So yeah, and sorry if this is kind of a rambly episode, but we've got a lot of time to fill generally.
I love the fact you've apologized in like the last 4 episodes for it being kind of a rambly one.
Yeah, well, I'm worried that our viewership doesn't like us.
Okay, comment section. You barely exist. Tell her you like her.
Or him,
Why would they like me more than you?
because right now we're at the furry episode, so...
Oh yeah, I do get hit on at FurCons more than you do.
Yeah, you do.
That's not an attractiveness thing. That's you're not to a lot of furries' tastes, and I am.
Anywho, let us talk about the con, actually.
Yes. So, this one...
So do you want to start with the controversy, or you want to start with getting tickets?
Let's start with getting tickets, because that does kind of lead into some of the issues.
Okay, well, when are we going to talk about the, other, I meant with the guest of honor type stuff?
If you want
Did
to
you want to do that first?
You might as well.
Okay, well, now I mentioned it. I just didn't know, this is not a set. Oh, my God.
Just talk about it.
Fine, thank you. We clearly have show notes.
How would I read them?
That's fair. So there was some controversy, quote unquote, around their guest of honor. I want to emphasize we're not a drama podcast. The only reason I'm bringing this up is because it might be related to some of the other issues we've experienced this weekend. Where there was a guest of honor, I'm not even going to name them, but it's easy to find if you look, who was in a TikTok video where they showed people who were doing a certain, like, not safe for work related thing. People claim that this not safe for work related thing was somehow corrupting children, even though it involves no children. That led to the person who was in these videos, depending on who you ask, either complaining that they were revealed as liking this thing or complaining that somebody was taking information from their not safe for work account that was clearly tagged not safe for work and posting it on TikTok, or some combination of the two. They got like death threats and stuff like that, and the con said explicitly, and this is their wording, that they, in coordination with this particular guest, decided to not have them be at the con anymore for safety reasons, but we're still supportive of all kink communities being valid. That's what happened, to the best of my kind of neutral interpretation of that. I'm not going to go into any of that more because we're not a drama podcast. It's not safe for work stuff. Do your own research. I don't have time to go on 6 different social media sites to be involved in a drama that I don't want to be. So,
Yep. Again, as per usual, don't kink shame people.
yeah,
Like,
that's most of what this is, let's be honest.
just don't be a dick. It's not that complicated.
Yeah, I did find some comments claiming that it was more than them just liking certain kinks, but like I can't verify that. Those were random comments on the internet, and I'm not going to accuse anyone of anything based on random comments on the internet.
Absolutely not. So,
And I doubt there's no verification that that's true. This person does not deserve to be accused of anything unless you have evidence or proof or want to have a longer conversation. I do think there are deeper conversations to be had here about when and how kink stuff takes place, particularly at furry conventions. And also when and how people who are underage should be able to access kink stuff on the internet. Both of those questions can have a lot of subtlety and complexities, but people shouting about them on the internet don't really address those subtleties and complexities well. And I will say furry cons actually tend to be very, very good compared to a lot of cons by making sure that minors don't access contents that they are not supposed to.
Yep. And again, we'll talk about the age verification stuff that this con was doing.
And the reason why I'm bringing this up is not because of the controversy, just because there were a lot of added security measures, both in checking not safe for work stuff this weekend and also just generally, and it could be related to that. It could not be. We don't know.
Yeah.
Because people on the internet were, of course, idiots and then started sending death threats to people. Don't do that.
Yeah, never do that.
And it's possible that either the con or the venue also got those, and that might have led to heightened security, but I don't know. But I am bringing it up as a possible explanation for why certain things happened at this convention.
Yeah. So should we talk about the thing that ticked us off? Just right out the gate.
Yes.
So the venue for this was the Durham Convention Center, which I'm going to be honest, having now been in it, that name is writing a check, it ain't cashing. It's a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
It's a perfectly fine hotel with a small convention area. I wouldn't necessarily call it a convention center.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, the convention center decided that this con would have to have full metal detector scans on the way in and bag check on the way in.
And no outside food or drink.
No outside food or drink.
And this, we think, was a fairly, at least the con was likely informed lately of this, because no one seemed to know about it until the first day. And I check websites pretty meticulously for that type of stuff, because generally bag check metal detectors put cons on we're not coming back list very, very quickly for us, because they're very extraordinarily inaccessible to people with disabilities. I know they make exceptions for people with disabilities, but the thing about that is that if you have to ask for an exception for yourself, you have to approach somebody and hope that they believe you about your disabling condition. That's a very vulnerable state for a disabled person to be in, and although some people can be really, really nice with that, you don't know when you're approaching somebody if you're going to get somebody who's going to be nice and understanding of what disabilities are, or somebody who's had zero training and is kind of a dick about it.
Yep.
So it's stressful. It's like a very stressful experience when you have to advocate in that way.
Yep. So for example, your digestive stuff means that you need a certain amount of caffeine throughout the day.
I need caffeine and I need carbonation, so pretty much diet soda is the only thing that works because I can't have sugars.
Yeah.
And they have to be at specific times of day.
Yeah. And your preferred method for that is particularly Diet Sunkist.
Yes.
Because
generally any diet soda would work, but Diet Sunkist is the one I happen to like the best, I will admit.
You know,
And it does have to be in bottles and not cans because the carbonation's different. My stomach's very sensitive.
Yeah. And the thing that if you talk to anybody with any kind of digestive stuff, invariably they basically had to try a bunch of stuff until they found something that worked for them.
Yep.
Which means that basically everybody who has dietary stuff has different needs, requirements, and everything else.
And that's hard for people who don't understand that disabilities are more than just people having diabetes to understand. What were you going to say?
Basically that.
Yeah.
You know, I was going to say, trying to explain those complexities to somebody whose training is probably fairly minimal on that front, yeah, it's not a fun conversation.
Yeah, and then you feel like you're making it up, you feel victimized, sometimes people will yell at you, and it's not to say any of this happened this weekend, it didn't, but it can, and that's really dangerous. And I want to emphasize that this was a problem with the security staff that was hired by the venue itself and not people associated with the con.
Yeah. So that was a problem.
Yeah.
I get the impression the con did not know it was going to happen until very late in the game. Because again, as we said, you check the website fairly meticulously for stuff like that. While we were on the drive down, that's when we saw it. Mm-hmm. So I suspect it wasn't posted until possibly that day, possibly a little earlier. Because I don't know when you'd last checked the website prior to that. But based on what we were seeing in the Telegram chat for this convention, nobody knew it was coming until basically the day it happened.
Yes, and that could have been related to the previous thing I talked about if the con got, or if the venue got like weird death threats because they thought this person who was the guest of honor was still attending the con. I don't know if that's why. I suspect it's not likely why, but it is one potential explanation.
Yeah.
It's also maybe that they just weren't prepared for an event this big. I don't really know.
Yep.
Or it's also possibly, because we also, obviously, on the way back, we decided to stop at round 1, just to compare this round 1 to other round 1s.
Yeah. Incidentally, Linz did ask when we're doing a round 1 review podcast where we talk about all the different round 1s, which is the best.
I would be interested to see if we can even remember them all.
Yeah. We've been to quite a few.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They also, wanted us outside just going into a random arcade. It might just be that this state has a weird obsession with security that's not useful.
Maybe, but based on the reaction of the staff at Bewhiskered, I don't think they've had to deal with that previously.
No, and I do know that they just moved into this venue, which I do think in a lot of ways was a decent fit for them in terms of size and panel room capacity.
Yeah.
But also everyone was under-caffeinated, hungry, and dehydrated all weekend because no one could bring in food and beverages, including the vendors.
Yeah, we did have a conversation with the vendors at one point, or two of them. Well, two people who were working one vendor's stall, I will clarify. Where they basically told us, yep, the security staff aren't supposed to be checking the vendors' bags, but they were anyway.
Mm-hmm.
One of them broke out the flashlight to look through one vendor's bag. And the vendors also weren't allowed to bring in food, despite the fact that they have to be in there for 12 hours straight between the times when the vendors hall is actually running and set up a teardown. So the fact that they weren't allowed to bring in food either, eventually they negotiated their way up to bringing in half a sandwich.
Yep.
I don't know what qualifies as half a sandwich because apparently they were allowed quote unquote snacks.
Yep.
So again, welcome to the wonderful world of, this policy is weird and confusing, and we need to, and it's going to be imposed completely randomly by whichever security guard happens to be the one checking you.
Yeah, and I will say, the attendees were very good. Also, sorry about the road. We're fixing it now. Yay.
We're not fixing it. We're just driving off that bit of road.
I was trying to get off the point quickly. Anyway. Yeah. I will say the attendees themselves were really good about it. I did not really notice anyone sneaking in food or drink at all. No. Generally, people just obeyed it. We did bring in Diet Sunkist for me just because I did need it for disability access type stuff. And we did tell the con some of that. We did just kind of sneak it past security because I just didn't want to have a conversation with the security because if they told me no, that's a very triggering thing for me a lot of the time, and it was scary. And they said we were allowed it anyway if we had disabilities. So if they saw it, that would have been what we said.
Yeah.
But we did just kind of bring it in. And I apologize if that was the wrong way to go about it, but having to confront that staff was just something I couldn't quite get myself to do this weekend.
Yeah.
because it's very like it's a state where you're very vulnerable when you're having to advocate for yourself, and I couldn't get myself up to do it, and no, and frankly, I shouldn't have to. Like, I just shouldn't have to have that conversation.
And again, I do. So one of the things I noticed on Friday, and which immediately got me into a "oh, that's why" moment. They did have a concession stand back there. It was only open from 3 until 10. So if you needed a caffeine hit in the morning, you were out of luck. But they were selling cans of Coke and Gatorade and some basic sandwich stuff. But again, as per usual for a convention center, it was at radically overinflated prices. Have fun paying $5 for a Gatorade.
Yeah, and I do want to emphasize when you needed caffeine hits or any food or anything like that, we went outside again.
Yeah,
because mine was for accessibility, yours wasn't, so we wanted to obey the rules in that particular way.
So we went outside of the security zone and just into the main lobby of the hotel.
Yeah, I still feel kind of bad for sneaking it in, but I just could not I was worried the security people would not believe me because my condition isn't something as simple as diabetes. And it's hard to have people not believe you about something you physically need. It's just not a fun experience. And I didn't want that to ruin my weekend. So
the security measures, not the con's fault, but they were kind of a massive pain in the ass all weekend. I spent the entire weekend convinced I'd forgotten something every time we left a room because I couldn't bring in the con bag. We have a bag in which we keep a bunch of stuff that we need throughout the day, beverages, games, other bits of knickknacks that people give us at cons, the emergency badge ribbons if I forget any of them.
Yeah.
There is plenty of stuff in that con bag that we kind of don't 100% need, but makes the con experience just kind of better. And not being able to bring that because half of it wouldn't have gone through bag check anyway.
Yeah, and part of it's just we didn't want to be bogged down with bag checking and things like that. I'm sure they might have been efficient with it, but it just seemed easier just to leave it in the car generally.
I kind of go back and forth as we needed specific things.
I'm still feeling guilty about the sneaking the sodas in.
Don't be.
Okay.
So that was not good.
No.
I don't blame the con for it, but it was not good.
No.
So, in terms of the rest of the venue, we might as well
It's also,
about it.
sorry, brief rant about security. This is the thing. It's both of us are very anti-metal detector, generally, and very anti-bag check at cons, generally. And particularly at bigger cons that just bog and slow stuff down, and they don't actually add anything to safety other than making people who are paranoid feel safe in dumb ways.
Yep.
Because it's still fairly easy if you actually want to sneak in anything dangerous for you to do that.
Yep.
It's not hard at all. And also, I was randomly pinging the metal detector sometimes, but not other times, wearing a hoop skirt.
Yep. Sometimes the spring steel in your hoop skirt set it off, and sometimes it didn't.
Yep.
So, Fortunately, I don't think I got pinged.
No. I mean, I think we might have the first time we went through, because I think the first day we went through on Thursday, they didn't actually have the metal detectors set up yet, so they were just wanding everyone.
Yeah.
And then they set up the metal detectors and then wanded people, and still probably did not find anything when they wanded people. So, and keep in mind, furry cons go all night, so there are people there at 2 a.m. doing this for whatever asinine reason.
Yeah. So, we weren't a fan of that.
No.
At this point, should we move on?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely somebody's... I don't know if this... I suspect the more likely thing was that the hotel sprung this on the con last minute, and they kind of just, since they didn't have an alternate venue at that point to negotiate, they just kind of forcibly went with it. If they are renegotiating the contract this year, I would say, this needs to be a hard line in your contract. Just don't allow this or go somewhere else, because everyone hated it.
Yep.
Across the board. And we know you guys did too, but, it's very, very hated.
Yep. So, So the venue itself was, to all intents and purposes, an L shape. So the main foyer of the hotel was along one line. Reasonable sized area, decent amount of seating in it. There was a bar over there. I saw a bunch of plates racked up, but I didn't see any place you could order food. So I suspect it probably did breakfast or something like that.
Yeah, this is the thing, is that most of the, by far they had Past the security checkpoint, the other side of the L shape, they had a like snack stand that was set up maybe 50% of the time, and there were snacks also outside that you could buy that were just the same snacks for about 50% of the time. But they had no other food. Like normally when they don't allow food and drink, it's because they actually have a selection of food you can buy.
Yep.
This place had no full meals or anything you could actually buy.
Yep.
Other than Gatorade and very cheap canned soda.
That cost $3 a go.
Yep.
So yeah. So, and yes, the other prong of the L shape was basically a single medium length corridor, and the various panel rooms and other rooms were off that. In terms of setup, I think it was reasonable. The corridor itself did get kind of problematic at a couple of points in terms of busyness. Sorry. But the actual panel rooms I thought were pretty good for the most part in terms of size.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, the hallway was, I think, definitely the most crowded point, and there definitely were some like crowding issues around the dealer's den and the night market, which we'll talk more about. But in terms of panel programming, I think they had the right size rooms generally for what they need for the amount of people they have. This is a very similar size con, at least last year. Furthermore, in Bewhiskered, we're right next to each other around like the 26 mark in terms of popular fur conventions, and had around 2,000 attendees last year, and I suspect somewhere close to 2,500 attendees this year.
Yep. So yeah, that seems reasonable based on the badge numbers we were hearing.
But that's just a guess. I'm sure they will announce numbers.
Yep. Most FurCons do somewhere along the way.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that there's still a decent chunk of con left. We had to get back to work. This con, for whatever weird reason, has more than just a dead dong dance. They have like a lot of programming going until like 11 p.m. on a Sunday night, which is not something I've seen before. It's interesting. We are at a holiday weekend, but most people I know have to work Monday.
Yeah, if it was in the UK, it would make complete sense, because in the UK, both Good Friday and Easter Monday.
I know some places do have it off here.
Yeah.
We just don't. So the students are annoyed about that. 'Cause, like, I can't celebrate Easter. I'm like, Easter is a morning holiday, you morons. It's just one of those things where it's like, I'm close enough to the end of the semester now that I'm done with students advocating they can get breaks from it. I'm just like, can we just get through this? Like, you can't go to college and not be in college. I know that's what they want. And anyway, we should move on.
Yeah. So yeah. So they basically had panel rooms A, B, and C. A and B were effectively a mirrored pair. Albeit the setup in each one was different. So A was a bit more lecture theatre style, or lecture style, with a bunch of chairs in rows, and B was what I would describe more as a workshop room, with a bunch of round tables, both perfectly functional setups. And I think they were very deliberately putting different kinds of events in each one. C was the largest of the panel rooms, which basically had a one of those like set-upable dance floors, a screen, and then seating effectively around 75% of it.
So in a U shape?
Yep. And then there was also main events, which was down at the far end of the corridor, which was the biggest space.
Yes.
Do you want to talk a little about the setup?
You're already saying it.
Okay. So yeah, and again, main stage, bunch of seating facing it, and for various events they were moving the seating around and putting it against the walls and all that kind of jazz. So pretty simple, straightforward. There was also a games room.
And then there was a dealer's hall. It was a little bit awkwardly placed insofar as the dealer's hall was, because this is all in one line in rows. So the dealer's hall was from the second from the end, and then main events was at the very end, which meant, at least at first, I do think got line management a little bit under control over the weekend, but particularly the first day on Friday, a lot of people were scooching around to go past main to go past the dealer's hall to main events for opening, while people were also trying to get into the dealer's hall, and it got very confusing because you would have to go past that section.
Yeah, there were definitely some line management issues at this convention, largely based on the fact that everything was off one corridor. And so if you were trying to get to the far end of the corridor, there might be a lot of people in your way.
It's partially that. It's partially also because you had those metal detectors that obviously disincentivizes people from going back out to the main corridor, because they're going to have to go back in through the metal detectors. So even though it's a minor hassle, it does psychologically keep people in that area longer if they're waiting for a panel. They're not necessarily going to walk out into the seating area again, because they just would rather wait and not have to go through the metal detectors again. So it was, I think, also keeping more people in that area than necessarily would be in that area otherwise.
Yeah, that's probably a factor. So yeah. So the other thing is they did have a badge check at effectively the top of the corridor. So you got through the security. Registration was immediately on your left, which was again just in a room off to the side. And then in order to get any further into the space, there was a badge checkpoint.
Which is, for FurCons, very unusual, like extraordinarily unusual. Like this is the first I've ever seen set up like this.
Yep.
In a certain way, it does make sense insofar as like you don't have to have multiple badge check areas for different panel rooms. You can't just have that one point.
Yep.
That said, it did lead to some problems over the weekend.
Yeah, the badge check, not too much of a problem, I wouldn't say. Apart from the big thing we'll talk about once we go chronologically.
That's like the thing that I said.
Yes.
You didn't have to like undercut me on that sentence. Like what I said was the exact same thing as what you said.
Yeah, probably. Love you.
Love you too. For the record, this is normal.
Yeah. We have a lovely, healthy marriage. It's fine.
Yep.
So yeah. So again, the setup I think was pretty decent. There was also their fursuit lounge, headless lounge.
Yes.
As we've mentioned before, neither of us are fursuiters. We don't go in there. Describing it as not a place we are welcome wouldn't necessarily be 100% accurate. It's a space intended for suitors and their handlers to be able to relax, take up their heads, cool down, get some water in them, all of that jazz. And if you're not a suitor or a suitor's handler, you shouldn't really be going in there.
Yeah. Which I do get. I do wish that they still had cosplay lounges, not at like fur conventions, but other conventions. Not enough people cosplay at furry conventions for it to be worthwhile.
Yeah.
But I do wish they had like setups like this at other cons still. It'd be nice as somebody who costumes fairly elaborately to have a space that I can go.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that I would never be allowed in a fursuit lounge, given that I do have extraordinarily elaborate and uncomfortable costumes, I will admit, but I don't want to answer the question of whether like my ball gowns are enough to qualify as a fursuit or what in what context, just because I don't believe anyone's helped by that debate.
No.
So I just treat it as though it's not a fursuit.
Yeah. Again, it's definitely wearable art.
It's wearable art, which the furries respect, but I don't have a head, and it's not something for which I'm going to overheat. It's just, at other types of cons, I kind of want the same treatment as fursuiters have generally. Like, not the exact same, because there's not the overheating type problems, but when we first got into conventions, cosplay lounges were a lot more of a thing than they seem to have become now, where they actually were spaces where you could sit in your costume and like fix costume stuff. They really don't exist except for at a couple cons now.
Yeah, or even like have actual changing space if you need to do that. As we mentioned before, we kind of envy the Japanese cons that, because cons in Japan, if you're not aware, do all have changing space for cosplayers, specifically because you're not allowed to wear cosplay on public transport in Japan, and 90% of the people going to a con will get there on public transport.
Yeah, I mean, part of the issue with the con this weekend, this is not like a criticism of the con or the space, because I do recognize this is a problem unique to me, but this con didn't have a space for me to change, so because we had a 7-hour drive back, I couldn't wear a costume today, because there was no space in the con at all for me to be able to change in and out of a ball gown.
Yep.
That's the furries are nice enough that I'm sure if I just found a random person, they might just let me change in their hotel room because they're nice, but like I don't want to ask that to people.
Yeah, it's an awkward conversation to have with somebody.
And they probably would think I was flirting with them.
Yeah. So yeah. So again, the space itself I think is fine. I definitely think their line management kind of improved as the weekend went on.
And they were learning the space for the first time since they just got here. So I think we'll be better prepared if they do use this space again.
Yeah, like in all honesty, if they use the same room as the dealer's den, I would actually use the doors down the side corridor as the way in, so that you can line people up down that side corridor, rather than in the main space. But again, like these are problems that I'm sure they can work out logistically. Because I think there was a doorway down there to get in. So yeah. Either way. So at this point, are we ready to kind of start talking? Oh, we should talk parking.
Yes.
So parking actually wasn't bad at this convention center. There wasn't a connected car park, but there were several car parks very, very nearby. We basically went to the one that was just directly across the street, which when we got there on Thursday was charging $7 for the day. And when we were there Friday through Sunday, it was free. Yeah,
which free covered parking at a con is very nice. Yeah.
Don't normally see that. So
and despite the con being like a fairly popular con, that lot was never full.
Nope.
not even peak con hours. It had 4 levels. I don't even think the second one fully fill up because there were also other garages around. Just from the angle we were coming at, that was the easiest one.
Yeah.
And the walk across, I was in a ball gown, felt fine. So.
Yep. Again, just straight across the street, in the main doors, job done. The one thing I will say is I'm not sure how like disability friendly this building was in terms of like main entrance. You had to climb stairs to get into. I think there was a way to get in around the back.
Yeah.
But it wasn't great on that front.
I mean, the metal detectors are also not disability friendly. So
true. So yeah, I did hear somebody describe it as very hostile architecture at one point. But again, I know that there's always a limit to what you can do in terms of having a space for a con.
I do get, like, it's not the con's fault, but that building is new enough that they should probably be a little bit more cognizant of disabilities generally.
Yep. So yeah, so that worked out fine. And then chronological.
Yeah.
Okay. Before we do chronological, let's quickly do our bonus segment that we've started doing. We do have con ribbons.
Yes.
We hand them out. We also have special con ribbons
Ooh.
that you can only get by listening to the podcast and giving us the secret code phrase.
Yes.
Now, we're not actually going to a convention next week because the University Gaming Club is doing a 24-hour event, and because we live nearby, we've pulled the late night shift. So we're going to be staying up playing games with teenagers all Saturday.
Yep. So we're not going to review that because I'm not reviewing our students. Like,
no,
I already do that enough for my job.
Weird.
Yep.
But,
so, and on Sunday, it's not going to be safe for us to drive since we were up all night.
Yep.
So we might do that weird roller derby thing in Akron, but I don't even know if we're going to review that for the podcast.
Who knows? We'll figure it out.
So on the weekends after that, we're having a couple smaller conventions, in part because we had 2 bigger conventions, in part just because April's really desolate because all the cons that were in that month moved to other months.
Yep.
So
no idea why.
And in part because May has a lot of away trips. So because of that, our code phrase this time is long time no con.
Yep. So yeah, so if you want the super special badge ribbon, long time no con, just come up to us and say it. You can have the special one.
And to be honest, if you say any of the code words to us, we're probably going to give you the special ribbon. I don't really care which one you say.
I mean, if you could rattle off all of them, I will be terrified of you, but I will be impressed.
Yeah. Might even give you a second ribbon.
Ooh.
But it will be the identical to the first ribbon because we only have 2 types of ribbons.
Yes, we did not buy a secret third ribbon.
Also, if you do have friends that don't listen to this podcast who want a ribbon, you can also just tell them the code phrase. Like, we're not doing this for views. We just are doing it because we thought it'd be a fun thing to do.
Yep.
So.
Again, it'll be funny to do it somewhere like Colossal Con, because those guys are real into ribbons.
Yep.
It's like, here's a ribbon. If you do this, you can have another different ribbon.
Yep.
That episode will probably actually get views. Whatever is the week before Colossal Con.
The week before Colossal Con is actually Anthro, Ohio.
Interesting. Okay.
Might convert some people to being furries.
Oh, God. Anyway. So, chronological. So we drove down on Thursday. This is a long drive, so, I stealthed out of work, lunchtime on Friday. On Thursday, sorry. Because, again, the university was closed on Friday, so, I didn't have to take time. It was nice. So we got on the road, 1-ish?
Yep.
Drove down, pretty straightforward drive, nothing really to talk about. So we got here at a little after 7?
A little after 7. I was kind of excited because there was a Taskmaster panel, and I really wanted to see Taskmaster done at cons more, because this, like a lot of FreeCon, had Thursday programming, and I was excited about that.
Yes. Unfortunately. So when we got in, I noticed a QR code that was if you're not yet registered, scan here to register.
Yeah.
So when they closed their pre-registration, I assumed the reason for that was they were going to print badges, and they wanted enough time to do it. And then if you turned up and bought your badge at the event, you would just get a generic one that didn't have your name on it. That's fine.
Yeah, that generally was how it typically when registration closes early, it's for something like that. Like, it's generally either to print badges or print tickets or various things for the people who register early. Then you can also register day of and just not get those particular like benefits and printed badges and stuff. So I assumed it was the same here.
Yeah.
But if they had a QR code and then we found out later the badges looked identical, I'm still a bit confused as to why they just closed registration for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, I'm assuming there was some reason
Yeah,
for it,
I
but I have
assume
no
that
idea
there's,
what.
because it only hurts them to do that for no reason. I just don't know what the reason was.
Yep. But yeah, so either way, bought our badges online, which means I got to buy the badges for a FurCon for once, so you didn't get to mess with what was on my badge.
Yeah, but I still came up with better names.
Yeah, you did come up with a better idea that I should have gone with, which was just I am from Durham.
Yep.
I didn't put that.
I think you put ball gown enthusiast on mine and British and tall on yours.
Yep. But yeah, so we did that. I was like, okay, we've got our thing. We just need to go to registration, pick them up. So we go through security, and that's when we realized registration closed at 7, and we got there at like 20 past.
Yeah. And ordinarily that wouldn't be a big deal because at most cons I know that have Thursday programming, particularly furry cons, it's always been a kind of lackadaisical badge policy, like at IFC or Indie Furry Convention.
Yeah.
They explicitly say that Thursday night events don't require a badge, and at Anthro, Ohio, they're pretty much like, if you have a badge, great. If you don't have a badge, that's okay. Just pick one up tomorrow.
Yeah.
If registration is closed. But they were still badge checking and weren't allowing people back, so we couldn't go back into the events. And we know some people had a similar problem on Friday night because registration, I think, closed at 6 or 7.
Yep, 7 again, I believe.
Yeah. And some people didn't go to the con until they got off work and had to drive down and couldn't go to any of the events on Friday.
Yeah, which sucks for them.
Yeah.
So again, I know working, keeping Reg open really late into the night kind of sucks for the staff, but it meant there were a few panels on Thursday we were kind of excited to go to that we didn't get to go to, and that's not a great way to start off a con. And
generally, I find that most cons tend to be a little bit more lax about this. Like, if you have a badge and just haven't picked it up yet, most places are just like, well, you can. That's fine. Just pick it up in the morning when registration's actually open if anyone asks you about it. Whereas...
Yeah, like, it's entirely possible that, again, if I'd gone up to the guy and just shown him the receipt, just said, hey, we just got here, registration's closed, can we come in anyway? He might have let us in, but I didn't want to have that conversation.
Yeah.
Because again, getting turned away at that point would suck.
Yeah. So instead we went grocery shopping for like a bunch of hours and checked into the Airbnb.
Yeah, we basically went to our Airbnb, which was about 10 minutes away, got checked in there, and then, went and did a bunch of, as you said, grocery shopping, just because you really enjoy grocery shopping in a new city.
I do, and this is a place I used to live, so a lot of like foods and stuff that I wanted still that I hadn't gotten to have in like 5 years. So that was cool.
Yep.
So we did that. I was still a little bit ticked about it that night. Like, it's not really that big a deal. It's just, it was a combination of things that I just wasn't expecting, because it's very unusual for them to just have one badge checked entrance. Like, most cons just have badge check for like either main events in dealer's hall, and the rest are kind of stuff where it's more just honor system, which I appreciate.
Yep.
Whereas this one just had one main badge checkpoint. I do get why they did that. It does mean that they have to have less people checking badges constantly.
Yeah.
But it's still one of those things that is hard.
Yeah.
And it's kind of disappointing sometimes.
Yeah. Because we would have liked to go to that Taskmaster.
Yeah, and there was also like Thursday night programming, and it's also a bit hard. I might talk more about this. It's just programming at this con is very spaced out, and it is night heavy, which has two kind of issues. One is if you're closing registration at 7 and most of your programming is at night, it's kind of hard for people to both access the paneling and also access registration, depending on when you want to be at a con, because it is hard to ask people to be at cons for like 14-ish hours, although we've done it.
We've done it, but as indicated by the fact that we're driving, that we drove as long as we did, and just look at how many goddamn episodes of this podcast there are. We're insane.
Mm-hmm. And it also meant that during the day in particular, there were blocks of time that were very sparse for programming, and if you're doing that much late night programming, some of which does not need to be late night programming, it would be nice to have a little bit more of that at like peak con hours times. Mm-hmm. I'm sure the panelists would also like it a bit more so that they could have more people there.
So Thursday wasn't off to a great start, I'm not going to lie. But we figured, okay, we'll go to the Airbnb, we'll get some sleep. It's been a long drive. We'll get ready. We'll turn up tomorrow and we'll have fun. So we got up Friday. We kind of checked when the first thing we really wanted to go to was, and it was about 11.
Yep. And I was wearing one of my green Fay OC designs this week, like little fairy antlers, and I brought Hip and Hop, the 2 bunny plush that you got me, that everyone was obsessed with this weekend.
Oh yeah, they were popular. Incidentally, if you saw us and were too awkward to ask, they're by a company called Living Nature.
Mm-hmm.
I literally just buy them off Amazon.
We're not sponsored by them.
We're not sponsored by them, but they are good plush. And again, they basically do like plush that is designed to look fairly lifelike and realistic.
Mm-hmm.
So you probably can't get the exact 2 that I have just because they rotate their product line quite a lot.
And so they're very cute. And incidentally, there's a gray one and a dapple tan one.
Yeah. Which, if you've seen any of the pictures of our actual bunnies, Sean and Toby, you've had Hip and Hop, the 2 plush ones,
for about a year. And we got Sean and Toby 6 months later.
Uh-huh.
And it was just kind of a coincidence that they perfectly matched the bunnies that you got me.
Yeah. It's just adorable.
Yeah. And you were in your steampunk outfit all weekend.
Yep. Which has kind of become one of my go-tos for fur cons.
Because you are on train management duty with my costumes a lot of the time. Yep. You're very hamper focused.
Yeah. So I need a costume that requires no effort from me to wear.
Mm-hmm. Although you did agree to let me wear my most massive ball gown to Anthrocon this weekend.
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
You suggested it, and then I realized what you meant, and I told you no.
You already said yes because you weren't paying attention.
Damn it. I mean, consent can be revoked at any time.
That is true.
So anyway. So we get there Friday.
I don't know if with that one it can be revoked at any time, because if you're trying to rip my clothes off my body, while we're at a con, I don't really think you can invoke consent for that particular issue at that particular time.
No, but it can revoke consent to help you.
Mm-hmm. That you could do.
Mm-hmm.
But you would feel like a dick if you did that.
Oh yeah, I would be a dick if I did that. But anyway. So, moving on.
That joke was probably borderline.
Yeah, it's fine. Somebody's clothes are definitely going to get ripped off at this year's Anthrocon.
Yeah.
And again, as long as it's consensual, great, have fun. Just don't damage the fursuits. Those things are expensive. So we got there at, about 10-ish?
Mm-hmm.
Because we wanted to make sure we had enough time to explore the space, as I've mentioned before, one of the things I do anytime we're in a new venue is I figure out where things like the bathrooms and the fire escapes are.
Yep.
The first one is useful information. The second one I really hope I don't need, but if I need it, I'm going to need it.
Yeah, this con I think had 2 main bathrooms, one past the L-shaped security and one outside security.
Yeah.
Neither were gender neutral. I have a feeling there's nothing that Bewhiskered can do to make gender neutral bathrooms happen at this venue.
Yeah. Again, 1, not enough bathrooms for that to really be practical, and 2, it's North Carolina.
Yeah, that's a battle they're probably going to lose. That said, if the con gives any indication that you can do that, awesome.
Yeah. But anyway, we did that. We did our scouting, so we picked up our badges. At this time, registration was pretty quiet.
Yep.
We had been planning to use the ADA line.
We didn't need to.
We didn't need to. There was there functionally wasn't a line at that point.
Yeah, so we went in, got badges. You got to make the Durham joke for the first time.
Yeah, I was happy.
Yeah, everyone at Reg was super happy at that point, I think, because it was before the storm hit.
Yeah.
So we got to talk with everyone in registration and have some fun with them, which was awesome.
And again, as we always point out, if you work Reg at a con, you are a saint.
Reg and AV. Support. Because the thing about Reg and AV is people only notice when you mess up.
Yep. Yeah, if the Reg team are doing their job properly, nobody really thinks about them.
Mm-hmm.
And it means it's a very thankless job.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you, Reg team.
Yep. And I asked them about disability stickers because a lot of cons have those. They said those were over at ConOps.
Yep.
Which makes a certain amount of sense, but it does mean you have to go back out through security to get to ConOps, because ConOps is understandably the only thing that's on the other side of security.
Yep.
And then back in, which if you have a disability is probably a little bit annoying.
It's a bit of a pain in the neck.
I don't think that's on the con.
No.
And I will say their disability system was very, very cool at this con.
Yeah.
So they had actually a little bit button outside you could like press in front of con-ops to like get some big con-ops to come over and pay attention to you. Yep. That was cool.
Yep, it worked.
And because it was pretty quiet at the time, they just invited us back in. I asked about the accessibility stickers, and they actually had a bunch that all meant different things.
Yep.
And they were very sensitive about it. They because they were a bit confused on what they meant, and I also was generally. Yep. And they were like, "Well, I'm not allowed to ask," and I'm like, "It's okay." And then I just volunteered what I needed without like talking about what my disability was, which I really appreciated. And then we were able to talk about like what stickers I might need.
Yep. So I think you got 2 in the end.
Yes. I still don't know exactly what they meant, but they accommodated my needs perfectly fine throughout the weekend. It was a very respectful interaction.
Yes.
And the stickers on the badges are subtle enough that as somebody with an invisible disability, I didn't have to like be noticed, which I also liked a lot.
Yes. Because as we've said before, there's a couple of different ways to do accessibility stuff in that regard. Mm-hmm. Generally, you tend to prefer something that's a little more on the subtle side, but I do know some people prefer something blaringly obvious.
Yeah. Well, I also do like that it's just on badges, because for some of the stuff, obviously, if you have trouble with certain types of communication because you're like blind or deaf or something like that, showing a badge to somebody and showing that it has a certain sticker on it that means you can't communicate with them is really useful.
Yeah.
I will say that I really like the accessibility seating at this venue also. It was definitely... The only real problem with it was sometimes there wasn't enough, but they do warn you about that pretty explicitly on the website, that they only have a certain amount of disability seating. But it was in places that were very sensible for it to be, which was very nice.
Yeah, somebody thought about it.
Yeah.
Including having like taped off areas on the floor that were accessibility seating for persons in wheelchairs.
And it was also designed so if you had like more than one person with you, which we didn't, but I know some other groups did, it could still accommodate larger groups of people who are with some disabled people, which is also awesome. So.
Yep. So yeah, like somebody thought about that.
Yep.
And did a good job.
They did a great job.
Yep.
And Furry cons continue to be the best cons in terms of accessibility access. So A+ there.
So yeah. So what was the first event? Was that opening?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there was opening. This is when we were still trying to figure out how access was going to work, and also has the con was still figuring out how line systems were going to work at this point.
Yeah.
Because we went back later, and there was actually tape on the floor for how they were going to organize people into lines for both the dealer's hall and other stuff. We went back there early. They had just opened the dealer's hall. At that point, there were no lines. So we actually did check out the dealer's hall briefly.
Yeah.
We went in the exit before it was the exit and before they were clearly capping the amount of people in there.
Yeah.
They started doing that a bit later.
Yes, probably because I think it was a little overfull at
They cared about fire codes this weekend, which is also important for me.
Yes.
Like they were tracking them with numbers, which is actually also, particularly with fursuiters, very, very important.
Yes.
So I do appreciate that they're actually capping that generally. And they continue to allow for like line skips and line jumps for people with disabilities. And they did have chairs. Sometimes the chairs weren't best positioned in the hallway, but they did have them for people who could, or like me, who can stand for brief periods of time, but I can't really stand still for long periods of time. Were you pointing at something?
I was pointing at the cows.
The cows were cool.
Yeah.
We moo in solidarity. Moo.
So, the one thing I will say is this con was using a particular app. Was it Venvi?
Venvi.
For their scheduling.
Yep. And they did not have a con book, which is fairly unusual for furry cons, but I do get that they're expensive.
Yeah.
I did like this app.
Yeah, for the most part, I also liked it. I thought it worked pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I liked that for one thing, I didn't have to search for the con every single time I logged into the app or opened it. It remembered where I was. And I liked that it automatically updated the time to the time it currently was so that I could see the events. And I like that when you clicked on the events, it had all the event descriptions fairly well laid out, and it was easy and intuitive to get back to the main page once you looked at the event description, cough, cough, eventy, cough, cough.
Yeah. It did also, anytime you clicked on a particular event or panel, it had a little mini-map to show you where that specific panel room was and how you got into it. That's a useful feature. That's actually quite handy. It also meant they could adjust the schedule on the fly if they needed to. And that was relevant for opening. Because opening was scheduled to be 11 until 12.
Yep.
Until we got to about 5 to 11, and then it was scheduled to be half 11.
Yep.
Until 12. Yeah, they were having tech problems of some sort.
Yeah, I know they got this really cool screen, which they did eventually get working for, because their theme this year was arcade themed.
Yeah. Which
is kind of sort of video game themed, but also kind of sort of 80s themed. It was kind of a mixture of video games and 80s theming, which I endorse.
Yeah.
We have talked about con themes that I want to see in the future, I think. Particularly at furry cons, just because they're fun. I'm really pushing for cottagecore. I want a cottagecore theme. cutesy animals, countryside type stuff.
That would be fun.
Like, that's kind of a theme I would love to see it for a convention soon. So if anyone's taking my suggestions, cottage corn.
Cool.
Clearly, I should be the person deciding this.
Yep.
What would your theme be?
I have no idea.
That's just because they always do sci-fi themes that you like.
Yeah. Sci-fi's good. Hey, if somebody wants to do a Blake 7 theme to their
Oh my
to
gosh.
their
Can't you pick
FurCon?
something that is like less specific?
No. Hey, if MCFC could do Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy 2 years ago, then somebody can do a Blake 7 themed one. Nobody will understand the reference. It'll be hilarious.
If you're doing that, why don't you just pitch a Babylon 5 theme?
Yeah, but that's American. It's less obscure.
Gosh. Also, rainbows. Rainbows are a good theme. I'm aware that's not a theme, that's a color scheme, but whatever.
Yep. So anyway.
So yeah. We met this person for whom it was their first convention in the hallway. Oh, I should also emphasize we did go into the games room before this.
Yes.
Which the games room had on the schedule that it was open at 1 p.m. It was just open.
Yep.
Which we appreciated.
Yeah.
So we went and played Azul. And I will say something that was interesting about this con is when we were playing games, people would just come up to the table and kind of hint at the fact that they wanted to play, which I thought was really cool.
Yep.
Anytime somebody did, we'd let them play. So we played with somebody.
Yep. Taught them how to play Azul.
They beat us.
Yep.
Which is good.
Yep. And Azul is very much a game that you can pick up quite quickly.
And we chatted with them for a bit, and they were a really cool person.
Yeah.
And then later when we were in line for opening, we met this other person for whom it was their first convention ever.
Yep.
They were really cool.
Yeah, they were a nice person.
We hung out with them all weekend, too.
Yep.
So they were nice.
Yep. I saw them at various points.
Yeah.
And again, we don't say names on this podcast unless we've specifically got your permission to do that.
Yeah.
Unless you're like, if your name is in the schedule, we're going to say it because it's already public information. If you're just somebody we met at the con, no.
Yeah, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
And that's not because it's hard for us to remember or pronounce your names.
No, definitely not. So, yeah. So, if the doors had opened when opening ceremonies were supposed to be, it would have been fine. Because of the delay, they did end up with a pretty bad queue in the corridor.
Mm-hmm. They were still learning how to manage.
Yeah.
And there was no, one thing I would encourage people to do generally is, particularly because the corridors are so narrow, there's not really a place that if you have accessibility needs, particularly with overcrowding, or if you're in a wheelchair, it is kind of easy to get trampled a little bit in the corridor specifically. So if you could find any space at all for people with disabilities to wait, it's not just kind of in a random chair, I do think that's one area where you could improve a teensy bit.
Yeah.
Although they still call accessibility first, so we did go in with the ADA group.
Yep.
They do emphasize that ADA seats were all first come, first serve, so the entire front row was taken with other people with ADA issues, which awesome.
Yep.
So we just set off to the side, and it was still perfectly accessible for me. Since we got to go in early, we could still find seats that are accessible for my disability, which is very cool. And I also do appreciate that they did just let people in and then continue, because they were still having screen problems at that point. So it started about, I think, 10, 15-ish minutes after they let people in.
Yep.
I do appreciate that they just let people in, because a lot of times they won't do that. So I didn't mind waiting quite as much because we were sitting down and just chilling.
Yeah. So, yeah. I think we would have preferred it if they'd opened earlier, but, again, I think they were still doing setup and everything.
Yeah, they were also telling everyone to, squeeze together because they thought the room was going to be at capacity. It was about, half, 3/4 through full.
Yeah.
I think they just kind of overestimated because it was kind of hard to see in the hallway how many people that actually was.
Yeah, I think part of it was they couldn't 100% tell who was coming into that and who was trying to get in the dealer's den.
Yeah, it was. The lines were a bit chaotic at that point. They did get there with them. It's just they didn't have a system to start with.
Yes. Again, they learned throughout the weekend, which, as I said before, learning from your mistakes is important, and I would rather you did that.
Mm-hmm.
So opening ceremonies ended up lasting for about 20 minutes?
Yep. Pretty standard stuff, introducing the guest of honor.
Yep.
Which was a different guest of honor than the person before.
Yep.
They were both meant to be guest of honor. They just had the other person there. They were cool.
Cosplayer and fursuit maker, I believe.
I think award-winning cosplayer, so a very cool person. They talked about various things that were going on this weekend, and we got to meet some of their head of staff, which were cool people.
Yep.
So we'll talk about it a little bit more.
Yeah. So again, perfectly functional opening ceremonies. Definitely a bit on the rushed side, just because again it started 40 minutes late. But technical issues. What are you going to do? Yeah, and again, they did get that screen working eventually. So I'm assuming it was probably either new or something about the way it had been stored since the last convention didn't agree with it.
Yep.
Yeah. So at that point, I believe we went to. So this is your first Furry Con.
Yeah. And if you're wondering why we went to this panel, it was in part, and this is still minor criticism, there were just gaps in the schedule for which there weren't a lot of programming on. Because they did tend to overload evening programming, I find, a little bit at this con, which is good in some ways, but you're also going to be competing with the dance and the night market and other stuff. And if it's not adult content, it really doesn't need to be late at night. And some of the late night stuff wasn't. So
yeah,
that was part of the reason. Part of the reason also is just like we do actually like what people. We're interested in hearing how people present this is your first con information in terms of what tips they give and how they go about it. Like we know they're going to do stuff like go over the 6-2-1 rule and stuff like that. But which I still maintain isn't that good of a rule. But I understand that it's meant to be heuristic.
Yeah. Again, it's the classic case of the 6-1 rule is a good general purpose rule. It doesn't necessarily apply perfectly to everyone. Like the eat at least 2 square meals a day thing does not apply to you because you're
I can't do that. Like that's impossible. Like I don't do that normally.
Yeah. You eat 1 big meal late in the day.
Yeah.
Because that's how your body prefers to digest things.
Similarly, like I understand that there is a group of people who needs to be told they need to shower every day and how important that is. But there is also a group of people who like can't shower every day just because they're disabled and they have other ways of cleaning themselves that is not showering. And sometimes when we attack that one group of people who just refuses to shower and makes their hygiene someone else's problem, we also kind of inadvertently attack that other group, and that's something I kind of want people to be a bit more sensitive about.
Yeah. So this was hosted by the con's, I believe his official job title was entertainment director.
Yeah.
Who's also the one doing most of the speaking during opening. And I'm going to be honest, something about him kind of rubbed me the wrong way for decent parts of this weekend. He's got one of those styles of, I believe him. I'll say they. They have a style of humor that's mostly about like jokey insults. And for whatever reason, I'm just not personally a fan of that style. I think it can work, but I tend to find it works best with people you know and are comfortable with, as opposed to just like insulting a whole room full of people. And it's fairly like banal stuff. It's jokes like, hey, if you succeed at this, I'll be proud of you, unlike your parents. Which, given that like half the, a decent chunk of the people at this convention were families who had kids with them, like, that joke was tolerable once. It got said quite a few times over the weekend. So yeah, your thoughts?
I told you before, I will admit, I don't think they annoyed me as much as they annoyed you generally, and there are a variety of reasons we've talked about that involve psychology, that don't have anything to do with the podcast generally. It's also worth noting that I do think we were grumpier just because we hated security so much.
Yeah, I do admit having to go through that security process did put me in the wrong mood.
Like for me, they did this thing, and this is not a thing that just they did, it's a thing that everyone does, that just I really, really hate it. It's one of my con pet peeves where somebody's just like, how's everyone doing? Oh, come on, you can do better than that. How's everyone? I hate being made to cheer twice, because as somebody who's a very enthusiastic person, I am cheering as hard as I possibly can the first time, and it's not my fault that other people weren't there with me. So please leave me alone. Like, you're going to get a good cheer. That's all you want from me, generally.
Yep. So yeah, like, again, nothing against them as a person. I think it's just their style and mine didn't really mesh.
And yeah, I will admit you do have to be careful with insults humor. This person was at least good insofar that they were telling people that was the style of humor that they were doing, but it's still one of those things for which you don't know what kind of day somebody's having and if that type of humor is okay for them generally. And I don't think a type of humor that either of us find particularly funny.
Yeah. It might also just be okay. There's a classic joke about British friends, which is, hello, nice to meet you. Your first meeting. Hey, mate, you are okay terms, all right? You were on fairly good terms. Oi, dickhead. Congratulations, they're your best friend. Like, it almost felt too familiar for them to be insulting us
Mm-hmm.
in a weird way. Which, again, that's probably a cultural thing.
I mean, it's not just a cultural thing. Like, the types of jokes that they were making were definitely types of jokes we would make with each other.
Mm-hmm.
And probably are making on this podcast to some extent during this drive. But we also
Probably.
know each other's, like, limits, what we can make fun of, what we can't make fun of extraordinarily well.
Yes.
So, like, I can see myself saying to you, like, you know, oh, I actually love you, unlike your parents or something like that, would be a joke that I would make to you.
Yeah.
You would make to me and then feel bad about it because that's actually true.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But we also know, like, each other's limits and backstories and when a joke like that would be okay.
Yeah.
Like, as somebody who did have parents who did not love them, frankly, there are time periods where I would be perfectly okay with that joke, probably 99% of the time. There would also be time periods where I wouldn't be okay with that joke. And even if that's just 1% of the time, it's a lot easier with a person like you who knows me to avoid that 1% of the time than some random stranger.
Yeah. So, yeah, again, they are not a bad person, they're not a bad presenter, etc., etc., etc. It's just their style of mind didn't mesh.
Mm-hmm. It's also like this is your first con panel. That's probably not the best panel to be making fun of your attendees at.
Yeah.
It's their first con. They're probably a little bit awkward and nervous. That's probably not the best way to kind of make them feel welcome.
Yeah. But yeah, so the actual information in the panel was perfectly fine and functional.
Yep, stuff we knew. And they did say that it was going to be fairly obvious information, but I did find it useful. I'm glad that FurCons have these panels, and I will admit the thing that we needed most at these panels was how to interact with fursuiters the first time we were at a furry convention.
Yep.
And I'm glad that they still have information about how to interact with fursuiters, because that's stuff that's not always necessarily intuitive.
Yeah. If you want one piece of advice, when we've seen this panel done previously, they actually bring up a volunteer fursuiter and just like hold their hands in front of them and basically say, tell me when this becomes visible, and like close them just to actually demonstrate to the audience how limited the field of vision in a fursuit is.
Yeah. And they show you how to like wave. It's polite to wave your hands in front of a fursuit and things like that to get their attention because they have such a narrow field of vision, or to hold up an X when they're about to hit you with your hands.
Yeah.
And that information was really useful.
Yeah. Again, just like little bits of extra information that I think are useful to have in that panel.
Mm-hmm.
Like again, not a bad panel, perfectly fine and functional. Just
And I want to be clear, this panel was also not for us. We were just going because there was no other programming on at the time. We were interested to see how it was pitched, but we're also not newbies, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know how many just furry conventions alone we've been to at this point.
Half a dozen?
It's got to be more than that. I'll do a math
We'll
later.
work it out later. So anyway.
Because we've gone to both Anthro Ohio and AnthroCon twice, and that's 4 right there. It's more than that.
Yeah, and then there's multiple times going to MCFC.
Yeah.
Plus IFCs. Yeah, okay, we might be maybe at 10 FurCons? I don't know.
I really should spreadsheet. I need to anyway. We're presenting at KaziCon on this topic.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we're doing a panel at KaziCon entitled, what was it? We went to 40 conventions last year.
What did we learn?
Yeah.
We also submitted that for TECO, so if any of the TECO people are still listening, you should accept that one. It'll be fun.
Yeah. It was an early spot. Like, it would also double quite well as a your first con panel.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was the next thing we went to?
The next thing we went to, I think, was Fursuit Games. But I will double check.
Right. You check the schedule. So yeah, Fursuit Games.
It has an official title for this. Let me see if I can find it.
Yeah.
Also, Venti, easy to log into, easy to get the schedule, easy to go to different days. Approve of, not event, or whatever it is. What is it? Venv, not Venti. Venv.
Oh yeah, Venti's the size of Starbucks order, isn't it? Also, I apologize for my occasional sneezing on this podcast, and I apologize for how little I care in terms of editing. I don't edit. I don't have time.
So yeah, there was an hour break. I imagine we just like kind of chilled during the hour break.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we probably went back to the games room again.
Mm-hmm.
Because again, there were definitely some hour breaks, at this convention for whatever reason.
But then like packed stuff later in the evening, so.
But again, I do know they got a lot of panel submissions. I think they got something like 140 submissions based on that.
Yeah, and I do think they could put more stuff in. But I don't know the exact specifics of stuff like that, so. And we are pretty much panel junkies. So.
Yep. Yeah, we're weird. We like to fill our schedule as much as possible with as few breaks as possible.
Yeah, I think honestly we walked just back out to have a drink at that point.
Oh yeah, we probably did. Because anytime I needed a caffeine hit, we would have to leave the security area. I would go back to the car, get my preferred caffeine source, which, in case you're curious, is sparkling ice caffeine, and then bring it back into the lobby area and drink it at one of the tables out there.
Well, at this point, I was also doing that. It wasn't until I think later that day or the next day when I finally was like, I can't do this anymore. It is not working.
Yep.
My body is dying.
Yep.
I'm trying my best. So yeah, we did that. Then we walked back in and did Fursuit Games Whiskey Party Game 1. They did have 2 of these, and there were a couple of events they had twice. I just think so double people could catch them.
Yep.
Fursuit Games is an interesting event insofar as that it's particularly how able spectators are to watch varies a lot. In this case, I thought they actually did a pretty good job with this.
Yeah. There was basically, so they took almost all the chairs out of main events. Well, I say out, they racked them up against the walls. And had the floor clear so that they could do the Fursuit Games on the main floor. But they did leave a rows of chair or a single row of chair basically around the outside of the room so that you could sit down and look from there. Which again, that worked, I felt. So the Fursuit Games is kind of what it sounds like. It's a bunch of silly physical activities that people are doing in fursuits.
Yeah, just if you're picturing like one of those dog obstacle courses, picture that, but for fursuiters, and that's most of Fursuit Games is.
That's not an inaccurate statement. I was thinking of something like, there was a classic British...
My reference, they're going to get more, we can move on.
Yeah, that's fair. Stupid game show, basically.
Yeah, where it's basically you have to do a bunch of stuff, run through an obstacle course, then tag the next person.
Yep.
So I was interested about this for a couple reasons. One, I was interested to see, it's Fursuit Games, but obviously fursuits are pieces of art, so you want to balance the fun and camaraderie with also protecting the pieces of art.
Yep.
I thought they did a very good job of keeping all the events no contact.
Yep.
Except for when it was consensual between 2 people. Some people were wrestling off to the sides occasionally, but that is fine.
Yeah, that's them doing their own thing.
And also giving it stuff that everyone of every ability level can participate.
Yes.
And I will say, the person who was hosting, so this is your first FurCon, was also providing commentary, and they were making fun of people here. Here, I thought it worked a lot better, because everyone who's in a fursuit knows that this is supposed to be a funny event.
Yeah. Like, again, when they, when their tail is heavy enough that when they jump over a, very low, hurdle, and the tail knocks it off, that's just funny.
Yeah. It's supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be people struggling to do basic tasks because they're in a fursuit.
Yes.
So they had a tunnel they had to crawl through and things like that.
Yeah.
And this was one of those events where I did kind of want to participate because I also thought it would be fun for me to do it in a ball gown. It was one of those lines where I didn't know if I could cross it here or not. This isn't a fursuit dance competition, so I suspect it's a little bit less stringent on what counts, because I know in fursuit dance competitions, typically you have to have a head and paws for it to be considered, or for you to be eligible to compete.
Yeah.
Here, it seemed a bit more loosey-goosey, so I think if I had asked, they probably would have let me join out of the grounds of it would still be funny, which is most of what we should be trying for here.
Yeah.
But I wasn't exactly sure how they were running it and if it would be within my comfort level. But this is an event next year where if we went back, I would happily participate because it was about at my comfort level. It wasn't too intense and it was well designed. So I'd still be a bit worried about my costume being destroyed, but
Yes. I don't know how well you can crawl in a hoop skirt.
I can crawl in a hoop skirt.
Yeah. But watching you try would have been funny.
Yes.
But again, I'm not sure to what degree you would have qualified in that regard.
I don't know how stringent this is in terms of rules. There's not a prize or winners or anything like that. It's just people having fun. They do at least want you to be in a costume, it seems like. So We'll see. But again, this event should not be catered around me participating either. No. It was fun to watch, though.
Oh, yeah. And again, very fun, very silly. One of the interesting things was apparently in the past years they've had problems just going, okay, divide yourselves into 2 teams. And everybody just kind of stands around and goes, So what they've done this year was 3D print a bunch of badges. That had, and then for various events it was either going to be a red-green game or a blue-yellow game, and each badge had a red, either a red or green side and a blue or yellow side. But you might be thinking, well, wouldn't that make the teams just the same? No, because half the red badges had a blue side, and half the red badges had a yellow side. And same with the green badges, which meant that when they decided that the teams were swapping, you didn't end up on the same team as before.
Yeah, that is a clever and elegant solution. I hope you trademark that.
Yeah, that was a good call. Like, that worked really quite nicely.
Yeah, and it's a great way to divide up the teams.
Yep.
And winning really doesn't matter at these things. It's mostly about people kind of running back and forth. The team that wins is generally the team that has the people in less cumbersome fursuits.
Yep.
But it's funny.
Yep.
And there were definitely a couple contestants who were mostly just there to mess with the host, which is fun.
Yep.
Including somebody with a giant dragon tail that knocked everything down.
Yep.
They were also very careful about making sure people didn't overheat with a lot of breaks, and they had a leaf blower.
Yep.
Which was in part to keep people from cooling down, but they were also just having fun having a leaf blower there.
Yep.
Like, they would just blow anyone with the leaf blower, not otherwise.
Yes. I got caught with, like a little bit of a corner of the guy next to me getting blown with the leaf blower. And that thing had some oomph.
Yeah. They were getting consent, though, because I had a fairly elaborate costume. They asked if I wanted to be leaf blowed, and I said no, and they were very respectful of that. So, and somebody did have a bit of a problem at one of the games with a little bit of overheating, and they were very, very good about making sure that somebody was there to help them immediately.
Yep,
it wasn't like an emergency or anything, but they got them to be underheated very quickly.
Yeah,
so.
they got basically just straight into a chair, got some water into them, and, went out with the leaf blower to cool them down a bit. Like, it was a good response. Everybody was prepped for it. Like,
everyone did a fantastic job. That person did a very fantastic job of realizing that they were in trouble, and everyone did a very fantastic job of realizing how they could help them. So, fantastic job there all around.
Yeah, because again, any kind of physical activity in a fursuit is potentially dangerous.
Yes.
Those suckers are hot.
Yes, and I know that we're keeping all of the rooms very cold that weekend.
Uh-huh.
Which I do get. North Carolina is a state that has a lot of humidity, which is not great for fursuiters. So I understand why they were being catered to all weekend, even though I was freezing my butt off a lot.
Yeah, you kept stealing my coat.
It was cold, but I do understand why it was cold, and
yeah.
I do get that you want to cater to that fursuiting population, particularly in crowded areas.
I would rather you and I be a bit chilly.
Yeah, than somebody else experience heat stroke, especially when people can't bring back their preferred beverages as easily.
Yeah.
Because even though water does cool you down, a lot of people are going to be more likely to drink enough water if it's their favorite beverage source.
Yes. And yeah, the one thing I will say is the venue did at least provide water stations.
Yes.
They were apparently making you dump out your own water if you turned up with it and refill it in, you bring the water bottle in and refill it inside, but even so, Jesus Christ, that security team. Like, I've had that happen to me, it's a pain in the neck.
Well, the place that you had it happen to didn't even have water stations.
Nope. They're like, oh yeah, you could refill it inside. And I'm like, we went in, like, the only place I could have done that was in the bathroom sink, and I ain't doing that.
Well, they did technically have a food store where you could buy food, but it was maybe only open like 3 or 4 hours a day.
Anyway, this is not complaining about that convention.
Yeah. Not that convention, the one at this con also.
3 until 10.
Yep.
Were the official hours when that was open. I will tell you that for free because I looked at it.
Yeah, but sometimes somebody wasn't even there.
Yep.
But yeah, the first 2 games were a lot of fun. I enjoyed watching and cheering for various people. I enjoyed watching the various games. It was very fun.
Yes. It was also well themed, insofar as like each game was based around a like classic video game. They had the AV team playing the relevant music. Yep. Which was a good touch. Again, very fun, very silly. We had fun watching.
We did.
What was after that?
I have another break after that, but I will check.
Oh, we're about to pull onto the 77 North. This is the point at which our route becomes fairly boring.
Yeah, and I think the next thing we wanted to do was Clawsome Game Night. So this panel ended at 4, and Clawsome Game Night was at 5, and we knew they were going to want to... These were in the same room, both in main events. We knew they were going to clear the room after fursuit games to put chairs back, so we obviously left.
Yeah. The one thing I will say is, they were very respectful of the fact that, generally speaking, if it's a fairly crowded room, we will usually wait to be like one of the last people out, just because it's way easier for us to maneuver you through.
Yes.
If we're not fighting a giant crowd. Generally speaking, in this con, they were very respectful of that. So yeah. So Clawsome Games. I'm assuming we just went to the. Did we get another caffeine hit at that point?
Probably. like at this point I was legitimately trying to like follow their system, and it was just getting more and more off. Like my caffeine intake was entirely off what it needed to be to keep my system running, and I was just getting mad because I couldn't like fit. Part of the problem is like I have to have these drinks at certain times. So I typically have one at like 8 to 9 ish before we got to the con, one at 12, one at 2, and one at 4 to 5.
Yeah.
Like, and those are the times when I have them, and that had just been pushed back because of the events, and now it was completely out of kilter, and I was just getting frustrated, and
Because normally you would have just
had them during the panels, obviously.
Casually drunk a soda while watching Fursuit games, it would have been fine.
And if it gets messed up, that means my both diet gets messed up and my sleep cycle gets completely messed up, and
Neither of which are good.
No. Especially when I'm traveling.
Yep.
Where it's already harder anyway. So yeah, I think this was about at the point where I just gave up and like you're just gonna have to like, get soda through somehow because otherwise, I just can't do this anymore. And to be clear, this was not on the con, and the con staff members definitely saw me drinking soda after this point and did not say anything. I think because they did see me also sitting in accessibility seating.
Yep. So yeah. Yeah. So Clawsome Games.
Mm-hmm. So we got here a bit early, and I did appreciate that after they set up the chairs, that it straight up opened the room and let people walk in. So yeah, I think what happened was for this one, you sat me down in the room, and at this point, I'm just like, I can't do the soda thing anymore. So you went back out to get another soda for me because I just couldn't like continue to leave and then come back. It just was not working anymore at this point.
Yep.
So
yeah, went out, got that for you, came back.
Yeah.
Yep, you drank it in there.
Yep, no one cared.
Yep.
We sat off to the sides. For Clawsome Game Night, you did have to sign up to advance to be a contestant. I will admit the sign-up sheet was I did eventually find it on Instagram, but one of the issues we're running in this weekend in terms of people who actually do like to participate in stuff is that it was unclear where sign-ups for various things were a lot of the time.
Yes.
And they opened sign-ups like 5 weeks before the event, which I do get why you did that, but that does mean that you might get somebody who's doesn't show up or various other things, so it's a little hard to sign up. I think it would make more sense to just kind of have sign-ups the day of, which they might have, and also like having it on the panel description I think is the place where it's most logical for it.
Yeah, this is the thing I will really say. Just put the sign-up sheet in the panel description on the app, because or on your website, wherever you have your schedule, because quite frankly, that's the easiest place for it to be.
Yeah.
If you have to follow you on like various random social medias to find a thing, I'm not going to do that. With the best one in the world, we go to a lot of cons. I'm already in too many Discord groups
and Telegram groups at this point.
Groups. I don't have the time or ability to be following a million.
This is the thing is like for every con, there's either a Discord or a Telegram group or something else, and I can't keep up with all of them. It's impossible with how many cons we go to. Like I would prefer if you just had a clear place to put this information. Also, please put as much information on your website as possible.
Yeah,
which is also useful.
Yeah,
because that's a place where I'm naturally going to look rather than looking through various Discord, Telegram, Instagram, whatever else messages. Yeah. And also, what app people use to most update is very random. Like some people will most update on Facebook, some people will most update on Instagram, some people will most update on Discord. I don't want to go through 6 different apps to try to figure out which one I need to look at first for information.
Yep. So yeah.
And this isn't just a problem with you, this is a problem with very many cons.
Yeah, hence why we're in too many Discord groups. So yeah.
But that said, I think we were fine to just watch this one.
Yeah.
This was very well designed and very fun. Like, I love old game shows. If you're a longtime fan of this podcast, you know how much I love old game shows, and this was very good. Very well themed, a bunch of different games. They had people divided into teams of 4.
Yeah, so they started off with 16 players.
Yes.
4 teams of 4. And they basically did 3 rounds of Family Feud.
Mm-hmm.
So they did, one team, so Team A facing Team B, Team C facing Team D. Then they did a winners match, and then that left them with 4 people who would basically go on to do the next game against each other in pairs. What was the next game again? Was that?
That was what was that one? Ugh. The last one I remember was Match Game, which was a lot of fun. Oh, that was Card Sharks.
Card Sharks, thank you.
So then they had a couple games of Cart Sharks, which was also fun. And again, all the questions I thought were very well themed questions in terms of like them being questions about the furry community.
Yeah.
Like what's a popular color for a fursona or something like that.
Yeah.
That were questions that anyone could like answer or take a guess at, which I liked a lot.
Yeah.
And then the last round was match game, which is basically where you're trying to match a panel of random people.
Also, we're currently going through a tunnel, and I apologize for the fact that the guy in the truck in front of us clearly needs to demonstrate something to everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Namely, that his engine sounds, I guess, impressive.
I wouldn't call that impressive.
No, it's definitely compensating something. But anyway, so yeah, so this was a like well-designed panel, I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Bunch of different games.
Very fun. There were a lot of people to root for. Like I had fun watching all the games, and we had fun guessing at the answers. I like this a lot. Like this is one of my favorite types of panels.
Like again, well put together.
Yeah.
It's just we would have been tempted to participate in this one. It's just your sign-ups were in a weird place that we couldn't find.
And to be clear, we don't need to participate in every single game. I'm sure you got plenty of contestants for this, obviously.
Oh yeah.
It's just in the future, just to have it be more accessible, it might make more sense to put it on the application thing.
Yeah.
And we totally would have understood if we could have volunteered and just not gotten picked. It just would have been nice to have at least had the opportunity to volunteer.
Yeah. And again, I suspect if somebody hadn't turned up, they probably would have just, taken somebody from the audience,
But this was very fun. A lot of fursuiters on stage, which is also always fun.
Yeah. It's chaos, but it's fun.
Yep.
So yeah, do we have too much more to say about that?
No, I like this a lot as a game show panel. I thought it was very well run. They had some software in the back for some of the various games, which was very cool. They didn't mention where they, because for both Cart Sharks and for Family Feud, they clearly surveyed some group of people. I do wonder where they put the surveys.
Again, it was probably also on their social media.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I did appreciate the host reminding everybody, this is a U-rated panel.
Yep. If you giggle before you answer, it's probably not something you should say.
Yep. Which is good advice when you're on stage at a FurCon.
Yep. It was also interesting because these were mostly like questions about the furry community. I will admit there's some aspects about the furry community that, because we don't engage with it at all outside of cons, that I was interested to hear more about. Like, what percentage of people have more than one fursona? It turns out, at least according to the survey, it was about 80%.
Yeah, it was high.
Yeah, I didn't know it was that many. So it's cool to kind of find out that information. So yeah, this was cute. It was fun.
Yep.
And that was till 7, and this one did run up against time.
Yes. Which again, I think they kind of expected it to. But it definitely did. I freely admit, when we were, I think it was finishing up the second game of Family Feud, I was worried they were going to run out of time. And it was a bit of a close call, but they did make it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and again, there was some good camaraderie on stage.
So after this, we had another hour break. I think you got a caffeine hit at this point.
Yep. So again, went out of the security zone, went to got my soda, drank it.
And then we did Pokemon Jeopardy.
Ah, yes, Pokemon Jeopardy.
Which is in panel C.
Yep.
And outside of 18 plus stuff, you could just pretty much freely walk into panels when you wanted, which was nice.
Yep. Again, unless they were doing room setup or anything like that.
Yeah.
But again, that's fine. We always say we dislike it when panel rooms get cleared if there isn't a very good reason to clear them. Mm-hmm. So like putting all the chairs back after fursuit games, yeah, that's a valid reason to ask people to leave.
Yeah.
You're moving a lot of chairs around a lot of people. You do not need a bunch of people hanging out in there.
Yeah. ID checking, I do think you can just do in the room if you ask people to kind of just line up at the end of the room, but I do get that it's a hassle and it's probably easier to ask them to go out for stuff like that.
Yeah.
But to their credit, I did like their setup, which we'll probably talk a little bit about for 18 plus rooms, where panel room B and panel room A were both 18 plus after a certain point in the night, and then you could just freely walk between those two rooms to different panels, and you only had to get ID checked once to go back in the corridor where they both were.
Yeah. Which did work. But again, we'll talk about that in more detail when we get to the 18 plus stuff.
Yeah. So Pokemon Jeopardy was what it sounded like. It was Pokemon Jeopardy, where you answered questions about the Pokemon world. I will say these were pitched, I think, at about the right level insofar as that all of them were answerable.
Yep.
Like, they didn't ask questions that no one would be able to answer.
Yeah.
Like, I could answer about half of them, as somebody who's played about half the Pokemon games.
I could answer about 20% of them, and as somebody who has not played a Pokemon game since Silver, that felt about right.
Yep. I invited the person who was their first FurCon, who happened to be in this panel, to sit next to us this time.
Yep.
And he was also talking to me about, like, they were much more of a Pokemon fan. So I think they're he, him, but I'm not entirely sure. So I'm just going to go with they.
We default to they unless
Yes.
we know for certain.
But they were talking to me about, like, the different answers, and they apparently knew all of them. I kind of wish that they had gotten to play. They decided who was going to play by random raffle draw, which is a great way to decide because it eliminates any bias.
Yep, it's a solid choice. So it was basically just a case of if you were interested, stick your hand up. They handed you a raffle ticket.
Yep.
And then they pulled the tickets from the bag. They did 2 games.
Yes, and they used the software I like because it's the same software I use for my class for Jeopardy, which I like because when you click on the question, it lets you award points. You can put in points individually if for whatever reason you want to like award half points or something like that. And when you click off the question, it makes it disappear from the board, which is a very useful feature.
Yes.
So I admire that they used it this way. And they had 2 games set up. The first of which was a game was fairly close between 2 people and one person who was clearly, I think, kind of high in there. But they were funny. So
again, we have no evidence of substance use. They were just having fun.
Yeah. Weed is legal in North Carolina. It's fine. We saw billboards.
I know. But again, I don't want you disparaging this person. Because,
No, I wasn't disparaging them. Like, to be clear, I think it's great when people who, are a little bit less good at game shows play them because they can come up with funny answers and are entertaining, is my point. And that's clearly what this person was trying to do.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. I was not trying to disparage them.
Good.
I honestly thought it was better that you had 2 people competing and one person who was, struggling with the easy questions that everyone kind of root for as the underdog. I thought it was a good panel.
Yeah, that's fair.
I liked them a lot as a contestant.
So, yeah.
I think they suggested one of the Pokemon was a dingo at one point. They were clearly there for comic relief.
Yeah.
And then the second game was insanely competitive.
Yep.
All 3 people were in contention at some point. But the nice thing is everyone got a prize for going up. The only difference was the first player got to choose, and I think they were card packs or something that they won.
Yeah, I didn't see what the prizes were, just because, again, we didn't participate, or we didn't...
we both volunteered, and, I honestly would just be making joke answers if I volunteered generally. They also said that you could volunteer as teams, so some people brought up their families and friends to participate, too, which I think is fair also.
Yeah. Which, again, just kind of added to the fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, if we'd got it, we'd probably gone up together.
Yeah.
We would have been doing most of the
I
work.
honestly would have also invited,
that person.
I was totally going to invite that person if we got up, because I honestly think, and then I would have just given them whatever the prize was, because they clearly wanted to play.
Yeah.
So.
But yeah. So again, it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
It was a solid Jeopardy panel.
Yeah.
Also, do you want to shout out what the name of the website is that you use?
I think it's just jeopardylabs.com.
Yep. So anybody who keeps trying to build Jeopardy in PowerPoint, just use this instead. It's easier.
I will say it does require an internet connection, but...
Yeah, which is a roll of the dice. But half of you are using Google Slides anyway, which also requires that.
Yeah. So yeah, use this. It's better if you need an internet connection.
Yep. Oh, actually, I will mention the internet at this convention center. So, Durham apparently has free Wi-Fi for an hour, which is just weird. But the convention center did also have Wi-Fi, but it was password protected.
Mm-hmm.
I was randomly scrolling through the Telegram, and somebody posted the password, and it was Durham Convention Center Guest was the name of the thing. So I was surprised it was password protected. So I was like, okay, there's probably signs up with it somewhere, because that's usually how they do that. But I didn't see one, so I have no idea where this random furry got that password from, but thank you, it was useful. So yeah. At that point, was it the first Not Safe for Work panel?
Yes.
Yes.
9 p.m. So based on what I heard people saying over the weekend, I think 8 p.m. was the cutoff kids need to be out of here time, generally.
Mm-hmm.
But they were only ID checking at panel rooms A and B for the first night, and then for A and B in the night market, I think, on the second night.
Yeah.
So we went to pup play and introduction.
Yep.
Which wasn't something we were terribly interested in, but, it's not something that I explored, so I'm vaguely interested in this, and the presenter was good.
Yeah. We're in the wonderful world of not our particular kink, but we do always like to hear people talking about the things they're into.
Yeah. And this was where we were first ID checked. They were ID checking, but they had this scannery thing that could scan your ID to verify that it was real and that you were overaged.
Yep.
Which might be related to wanting to keep people out of the kink panels. I do think both of us tend to prefer it where you just like look at somebody's badge and have an identifiable factor on their badge that says that they're overaged.
Yep. There are plenty of cons we go to where if you're under the age of 18, you get a different badge.
Particularly at furry cons where they scan your IDs to check in anyway. I do think it makes sense to just give plus 18 badges to people.
Yeah.
Because I honestly, like, for whatever reason, I do feel a little bit uncomfortable handing my ID over to people. It's probably just because I think the picture sucks, but you know, it's just something for which I prefer to kind of keep that information more private whenever I can, for whatever reason. So I would prefer to just have a badge I can show people. I know they're not paying any attention whatsoever, but
yeah. But and of course, like my ID just doesn't scan.
Yep.
Because it's still my UK driver's license.
Yep.
It's a good general purpose that I do.
And I think they only had one ID scanner, so they had to pass it back and forth from the night market and stuff. It's cool that they have it, but I prefer the badge system just because, one, it's quicker, two, it's easier. And I do understand that you can give your badge to somebody else to use, and that would be wrong of you. But you can also just give your ID to somebody else.
Yep.
Like, it's not really that different.
So yeah, again, it definitely slowed everything down a bit. Again, because there was quite a considerable line. Like we would have been waiting a while if we hadn't, used the fact that you have ADA requirements and can't stand in lines.
Yeah.
To basically get let in fast. And again, I do want to praise the convention for this. Like the second I said, ADA accessibility to anybody, I got a response of basically certainly.
Yep.
And then they, let you through. I think that time we were basically behind somebody in a wheelchair, but other than that, you were seen to pretty instantly.
Yeah, and I think we were talking to a couple people with ADA access a little bit later who were talking a little bit about how both the cons have been great about it and people generally have also been great about it. Like, I appreciate, particularly for cons, no one takes advantage of it. And we both talked about the thing that you have as disabled people. If you have these accommodations, which one of them are ethical for you to use and which ones aren't?
Yeah.
Like, I definitely try to only use them in situations where I, need them, which I think is what most disabled people try to do.
Yeah.
So, but I do need special seating, so I just do. Otherwise, it's just not going to work, and I'm going to be completely overwhelmed.
Yep.
So we did that. We got into the room. I do think one thing that they probably did need to do is inform, because there were just a few people in the room, because I think they just started letting people in, but they only started letting people in at the 9 o'clock mark. And the panelist wasn't aware that there was this massive queue of people out in the hallway.
Yeah.
So I think you informed them.
Yeah, the panelists basically started their presentation, and the room had maybe 10 people in it.
Yeah,
I basically just stuck my hand up and you might want to wait a second. There's a massive line outside getting ID checked that I think went into this panel. Oh, okay.
So yeah, maybe communicating that a little bit more clearly between groups of people.
Yeah, I think they were under the impression they were supposed to start pretty promptly.
And they also admitted they were used to kink events, for which the panel programming, if you're going to a kink con, is not the main reason people are there.
Nope.
So the panel programming gets 3 people.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, this is a normal crowd. No, it's not. You
No.
just wait a few minutes. So.
And yeah, after a few minutes, because again, they were being fairly efficient at the ID scan, I'll give them that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, after a few minutes, they, the room was pretty crowded.
Yeah. And this was, I think, a panel where you were fading a little bit because you couldn't have caffeine at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And also, this, we can't really talk about the content of this panel terribly much because it is mostly not safe for work stuff.
Yep, and this is a safe for work podcast.
Yeah, it's about what you would expect from a one-on-one panel. I would say I know about 90-ish% of it is somebody who wasn't involved in the community, but 10% I didn't know was interesting.
Yep.
And I did like them as a panel presenter quite a bit.
Yep.
And it does seem like it was a cool space, and I do think this is the importance of panels like this, is it seemed like, because there was a longer Q&A period, a place for people who were into this particular type of play to kind of feel a community that maybe weren't able to access a community yet. So.
And get good advice on how to go about finding one.
Yeah. And because there wasn't anything in there for 30 minutes, the person who was the head of scheduling and programming gave them an extra 15 minutes for the Q&A because there was no reason not to, which is also super nice.
Yes, it was. And I think he could tell that there were still people who wanted to ask questions and didn't want to kick them out. I'm wondering if at least in part that was because they knew it took them a little bit of time to get everybody in, so the panel did start a little late.
Yeah. Which was also nice of them.
Yeah. So,
yeah, this was good. I will admit both of us were flagging a bit during this because it was stuff we already kind of knew and we're not as interested in this community. But
It is not our particular kink.
Yes.
Like, we, again,
Why do you keep thinking that I'm saying things that are like negative as opposed to neutral?
I don't know.
Like, I did not intend that sentence to be negative.
I know. But yeah, again, we are very kink positive. It mostly just comes down to, we were tired.
We were tired. It was hard to have caffeine at times we needed to. Both our caffeine schedules got mixed up today.
Like, I usually, if I know we're staying late at a con, I usually do about 2 in the afternoon and anywhere between 6 and 7. Because that's when my body basically says, "Oi, you should be going to bed now." And I'm like, "Thanks, body." It's great anytime I get a real crash while I'm at work and I'm like, I can't take a nap at my desk. This is annoying. But yeah. So we were definitely flagging a little bit. That is not on the panel list.
Nope.
That's just, we were undercaffeinated. Yeah. Anything else we want to say about this one?
I thought it was very good for what it was. I highly recommend it. It was clearly popular, so I hope you keep having it generally.
Yep.
They did talk a little bit about the controversy of quote-unquote pup masks. Mm-hmm. So if you've been to a furry con, you've probably seen pup masks. And I think Bewhiskered has the same policy with them as they do for other types of kink things, because there is this question as to how much those things should be in public spaces.
Yeah.
Because the pup community and the furry community are separate communities, and they evolved in separate spaces. There is overlap between them now, and there's still a question, particularly with furry, about how much overlap there should be between them and how much things in the pup community are necessarily like kinky. They talked a little bit about that generally. And I think most fur cons have settled on kind of a loose rule of things like pup hoods are okay, which are just the like masks that they have in front of their face. More explicit stuff isn't, at least in daylight hours.
Yes.
Which I think is fair.
I think that's a reasonable compromise.
Mm-hmm. And I think the same is true for like certain things at fur cons generally. Like obviously like fursuits are okay. More overt anatomy fursuits are not.
Yeah. Oh, we're in West Virginia now.
Mm-hmm. Necklaces are okay. Collars and things like that maybe wait till the late night hours.
Yeah. Like again, it's just the classic case of use your common sense.
Yeah.
Basically don't do anything that's going to get the con banned from the venue.
Yeah. I will say during the day, we didn't mention this, con actually did have quite a few young children running around, which were delightful. They were never in spaces they weren't supposed to be and were very nice.
Yep.
And they clearly felt calm because multiple of them were just like passed out midday.
Yeah. That was great. So yeah. So I think at that point we headed out.
Mm-hmm. I know we didn't. Like, why would we have stayed for this panel if we were heading out after that?
Yeah, I don't know. What did we stay for?
We stayed for it, and you're going to kick the Price is Right.
Oh, yeah, we did, didn't we?
Cursed and Crude Items, which is basically what it sounds like.
Yep.
It's a Price is Right panel where these two people found a bunch of
questionable things.
Questionable things, some of which were like sexual, some of which were just weird.
Yep.
And you had to guess the price of them.
Yep. And again, standard Price is Right rules. Closest without going over. But if everybody went over, they gave whoever was the closest the point.
Yeah. And the winner of each round, they did 3 separate rounds. One of like not the expensive items, but like just some various cheap items that they put on the board that were extraordinarily weird.
Yep. Which, yeah, some of them would just.
Well, one person got an art commission in my round.
They did.
Which was super nice.
Yeah, because both you and I volunteered for this one.
Yes, of course we did.
I was in the first round.
I was in the second round.
Yeah.
Both of our goals, I think, were just put answers that were funny.
Yep. Well, good. Like, the point of this is to react to the weird nonsense.
Yeah. I will say the two people who were running this had amazing banter.
They did. Like, they had very good chemistry with each other. They had very good chemistry with the audience.
Yep. Everyone was having fun shouting out stuff.
Yep. Like, this was a very silly panel, and everybody, like, understood that.
Yeah. And yeah, the crowd was wild generally. The artist commission, I put priceless on that, and I got a sticker at the end of that because the artist really liked the answer.
Yeah, the artist thought that was great. So yeah, like, just a lot of weird, silly, just, oh God, why did you make that?
Yep.
And why are you trying to sell it for that much money?
I also love that, like, while we're talking about this panel, we're behind a truck that has one of those truck ball sacks on it.
Yep. Yeah, you did not know the truck nuts were a thing this
Yes, I
weekend.
did. I just forgot about it in the context of the game we were playing, which we'll talk about later.
That's fair. But yeah. So again, it was just a very weird and very stupid panel in all the right ways.
Mhm.
Honestly, I only have one complaint about it.
It was too short?
No, whiteboard erasers next time,
Oh, yes,
please.
please. Because I was in a dress and was desperately trying not to get that dirty.
Yeah. Just because, again, they had you writing your answers on a a dry erase board.
Yeah.
Um,
Everyone always forgets the erasers for the dry erase board.
Yeah.
Everyone.
There's a reason why a lot of board games these days that feature dry erase boards, like the one we were just talking about, So Clover, will include a little eraser on like the cap of the pen, because nobody remembers them.
I'm honestly gonna like order some erasers and add them to the con bag just so we have them to like give out in situations like these.
It's like, here you go, throw. Well, that wouldn't have worked at this con.
No, because we couldn't bring them. Like, we could have brought in the con bag. It's just our con bag is quite big and we didn't want it to be searched.
It's quite big, and I'm gonna be honest, it hasn't been properly organized in months.
Yep.
It's a mess, and I do need to sort it completely.
There might be a raccoon living in there at this point.
So you joke, but I'm pretty sure there are some raccoon stickers in there. the stickers we've acquired at FurCon's in there, and there is a non-zero chance one of them's a raccoon.
Mm-hmm. I'm also disappointed about the lack of bringing in food because it was Easter weekend this weekend and it's Easter day today.
Yep.
And like they did have some eggs around with like stickers in them, but like eggs with candy are also fun, and I would have liked to have found those.
Yep.
So yeah, this was a very cute panel. Went till 11:15 and we were done after that.
Yep. But no, again, like, this was very... You guys found some weird stuff. I don't want to know where you found most of it. Again, most of it was pulled from, like, eBay and Amazon and stuff. Like, there was at least a couple of things that were like, yeah, this is sold at Walmart. Really probably shouldn't be.
My favorite was also, like, they gave the last person that won a cursed item with, like, a backstory.
Yeah.
And, like, the backstory was, like, 10 pages long, and then they handed the person this tiny doll that was the size of, like, a miniature Polly Pocket.
Yep. And it was just like, that, like, based on the description, it's possessed by some kind of succubus, so have fun. Like, the description was... I think the description was longer than the, flash fiction you wrote last week.
And the person who won it said they were staying in an Airbnb that had a bunch of evil eyes around it randomly.
Yep. That'll help, I'm sure.
So this was a great panel. The two people who were running it had great banter. Like, awesome job.
Yeah. And
I will say this continues to be, for the most part, the year of the great panels. We have been to so many great panels this year.
Yeah. So we went back to the Airbnb. We collapsed.
Yep.
I got food. I tried to go to Popeyes. The line was too long. I went to Taco Bell instead.
Yep. Your body's still kind of feeling the effects.
Yeah. Thanks, Taco Bell. Again, my body is too white to handle spice. It's fine.
We're also too white to handle whiteness.
Yeah. But yeah, so again, got up the next day, deliberately slept in a little bit, about as much as our bodies would let us.
Yep.
Chilled out of the Airbnb in the morning.
We debated going for the 10 a.m. Fursuit Games Part 2, but we decided to just kind of relax at home for a bit, so we got there a little bit later in the day, especially because we now knew that parking was free, and that for the most part that lot wasn't going to overfill, so we didn't feel the need to like rush over there, which was actually quite nice. Less stressful than it wanted to be.
Yep.
So we got... Go ahead.
I was going to say, because for some cons we do have to get up very early and like rush to get your makeup on and get out the door and all that jazz. This one we could just chill and take our time.
Yep. So we got there about at noon-ish, sort of.
Yep, somewhere in that ballpark.
Yeah.
This was the day we ended up having to park on the second floor of the
which was still perfectly easy to get to. I actually think we were in the games room for, because we got there probably at about 11. Just went to the games room for a bit.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then we did the lip sync battle panel.
Yes.
Which was another panel for which I know, like, you like karaoke and lip singing a lot more than I do. Yep. But I was interested for us to kind of go to this because we've never been to a lip sync panel specifically before.
Yep.
And it's something I've been wanting to do more and more. It's just always opposite panels that we're also interested in. So I was really interested to see how this goes and would go, because I love, like, on our first date, we accidentally went to music karaoke or music. So we went to trivia because trivia is something we do weekly now, and I love trivia, and you're also very good at trivia. And I'm like, let's go to this trivia. And it didn't say on the website it was music trivia. And we got there and it was music trivia, but all of it was music from before we were born. And the people playing it were like these very obsessive Gen X people.
So yeah, I think we got like 4 right answers.
And the guy was giving us pity points the entire time. But this was our effectively first date because you had just gotten to America at this point.
Yep.
And one of my like favorite early memories is just you singing to me at that booth along with all of the songs you knew while we were just laughing hysterically.
Yep.
And then we almost wound up winning the entire thing because the last category let the team in last place choose, and we picked like pop songs from when we were born that none of them knew.
Yep.
But we only wagered 1 point because, frankly, which the guy seemed surprised about because, like...
We were just like, okay, if we win this, they're going to
kill us. Yeah, they were so competitive.
So, you know... But yeah, so again, that was... You know, and again, like, I like singing, and I like miming, and I like just kind of doing stupid things to music.
I will admit music is one of those things that I have a little bit more discomfort around generally because it's another thing my mom told me I was just not good at, so I'm a little bit less comfortable in that area still. And I don't know if I would ever be in a lip sync battle. That said, this panel started with one of us wanting to participate and one of us being utterly terrified of participating. And it didn't end in a better place.
Nope, it ended with me saying, oh, well, I'm never doing that. And the specific reason for that. So this was taking part in panel room C.
Yes, so it was a 3-sided room.
Yep.
And this was another one for which I think for this one you had to sign up in the like Telegram server like days before. And no,
I went back and searched for it because I was curious.
Yep.
Yes, they posted the sign up sheet for this one to Telegram on March 28th.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't think was indicated anywhere in the panel description because this would be something for which I would assume it would be like karaoke where you just sign up when you're there, not that you would have to sign up in advance because that's not intuitive.
Yep.
That said, I think you were glad you didn't sign up for this.
Yes, very glad. Because the reason for that is they had the judging panels set up next to the screen.
Mm-hmm.
It was 4 people. And the first person came up, did their song, did their lip sync, did what I thought was a really great job, was immediately criticized for not facing the judging panel enough because as a result they couldn't tell if they were lip syncing or not, which meant that half of them were facing the wrong direction for the audience to actually enjoy it for the rest of the thing. Yeah,
keep in mind the room was a U shape, and then the judges were at the corner at the top of the U. That was where the projection screen that was playing the videos were. And intuitively, it just intuitively makes sense to face the audience and not the judging panel. And if you needed the judging panel, then just have them sit on the front row of the thing and then just have them play the screen.
Because it meant that several of them basically had their backs to us the entire time.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't fun for the audience.
No, this should be fun for the audience and the people performing to get that audience interaction. And then those people were criticized for not having any audience interaction.
Yep. And that comes on to our other point. Christ, were the judges unnecessarily mean.
There were no compliment sandwiching whatsoever. They never said anything that people did well.
It was very, very critical.
The main judge was the person who said that they do a lot of comedy where they make fun of people, but what they were doing wasn't charitably making fun of people. It was just criticizing them.
Yeah.
There are ways you can make fun of people and still be polite about it, but this wasn't doing that.
No. It says something that the first performance went, the room energy was good. The judging panel opened their mouths, and I felt the energy in the room drop.
Mm-hmm.
Because, they were very harsh.
Yeah.
I went from, this would be fun to participate in, if they, because they did say that, they might have effectively some free spots at the end, depending on, how long everybody took and all of that. I was like, I might, jump in at the end. No. By the time they'd finished talking to that first person, I was like, oh, hell no, I'm not doing that. Mm-hmm. This will not be a fun experience.
No. Some of the people were clearly nervous about performing because of how harsh the judging was. There was one person who, it was very clearly, likely their first time on stage, and they were terrified. And this was a person who wasn't doing any big dance moves, but they were lip-singing along with the song in a way that I would typically think would be quite good.
Yeah. I also thought it was very appropriate for the song they'd chosen, because the song they'd chosen, the video from it was somebody just on a stage with a microphone singing and performing. Mm-hmm. And they were basically mirroring that style.
Yep.
That was really good. and they were mostly facing the audience the whole time, which meant we could actually see what they were doing and enjoy it. Yeah, the panel ripped them apart over that.
Yeah, and this was a person, like, I understand that you're not going to understand, like, everyone's sense, like, how everyone's feeling at the moment. You could clearly tell this person was nervous and likely doing this for the first time.
Yeah.
And you want that person to get up on stage again and do a better job next time, and nothing you said to them was going to help them do that.
No. Like, I understand that, you want to give, like, feedback and criticism so they get better. This wasn't that. This felt like you guys being dicks.
Yeah. Which, in fairness, we did have fun at this panel, but it was mostly by making fun of it, which is, they said they were going to make fun of the people performing, so I feel like it's fine for us to make fun of them.
Yep.
Which is most of what we were doing.
Yeah, I was actively giving the judging panel the finger at one point.
I did not see that.
Yeah. I did it with the old, like, lean on it, trick.
Well, don't do that. That's not appropriate.
It felt appropriate. But, yeah.
The other thing I will say is, this is obviously our first lip sync panel. I really hope that lip sync panels aren't doing the same thing across cons where they're becoming de facto dance competitions.
Yeah.
Particularly at break cons where you already have 2 to 3 other dance competitions. Like, lip syncing should be its own thing.
Yeah.
It also doesn't necessarily, like, when I went in, I thought this was going to be a lip sync battle. I thought it was, like, literally going to be, like, bracket style where 2 people pick a song and then face off against each other and then are just decided by the applause-o-meter, which basically just means the person who picked the more popular song is going to move on.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Like, that's fun. It's silly. It's dumb. And then everyone gets cheers, which is what they need. And it pumps the crowd up.
Yep. There's also just the option of, does it need to be a competition?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I would have had more fun with this panel if it was just effectively like karaoke, except just lip sync. Like, that sounds like a great idea to me. Pick a song, lip sync along to it. Do sign-ups in the room rather than in advance. Like, I spent the whole thing basically commenting on the fact that there was a karaoke panel at a previous convention we went to, where the host basically just had, a Google form that they had a QR code. You scanned the QR code, you filled in the Google form, and it basically was like, name, what song you're going to sing, provide a link to it on YouTube, because you guys were also using YouTube for this, so you could have done the same thing. And then that just auto-populated a Google form or a Google spreadsheet that you could then read from. Because the other problem you guys ran into was several people who'd signed up in advance didn't turn up. Which always can be an issue. So yeah, I'm gonna be honest, this panel should have been fun, and it got more fun when the judges realized they were going to be really pressed for time and stopped criticizing people.
Yeah.
Like, when they stopped giving feedback, suddenly the energy in the room improved.
That was also when everyone just started facing the audience because it felt more natural to do.
Yep. And oh look, everybody was having more fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, they did announce a winner. It was the person probably, I think, did give one of the better performances. But I don't know for certain because they were facing the judging panel the whole time. So yeah. Well,
the judging panel was like, we need to judge you on how well you're lip singing to the song. And I'm like, okay, sure. But do you need to judge them on anything? Can't you just judge them based on vibes? That feels like the level at which you should be judging them.
Yeah. And again, they're also criticizing people like not moving around the stage enough. And like, at least one person did the whole thing in a fursuit head. That's not lip syncing, that's just dancing.
Yeah, lip syncing is actually something I would want to try as somebody who's pretty uncomfortable with singing and karaoke. Lip syncing seems like it would be fun for me to do with a song that I actually liked, because I assume the fun of lip syncing is it means that you can like do the things that you like to do at home, where you're just kind of singing in front of the bathroom mirror and rocking out, because everyone does that. And
yep.
I would want an environment because that's a very intimate thing that most people don't share with other human beings, is them singing in front of the bathroom mirror. So, like, if you want to create those vibes, you need to make it a safe and supportive environment. And I do, because the person who was running this panel, because their stick of humor was insulting people, I just don't think that works with this particular type of panel.
Yeah.
It works with fursuit games, because everyone there knows that they're there to kind of just have fun and look silly.
Yep.
But it doesn't work with this, because this is a much more intimate type of art and performance. Yeah. But we did have a lot of fun making fun of it.
Yeah.
Because we're bad people, but
Yeah. And
Not
again,
the performers, I want to emphasize. The performers we were trying to support.
yeah, mostly I was slagging off the judges.
Yeah. Like, the person we could tell with who was nervous went up to them and gave them a con ribbon afterwards, because I honestly really liked their performance.
Yeah. Again, I thought they matched the vibe of the song they picked very well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but again, the second it started, I was like, judges are going to rip them apart.
Yep.
And I was right. So yeah, honestly, do this panel again. Don't make it a competition.
Or please, at least, if you are making it a competition, learn the art of compliment sandwiching. You never said anything positive at all. Like, the most positive thing you say is just like, yeah, I have nothing to criticize. That's not good. Like, talk about positive things that they did that you liked.
So yeah.
I think this also relates to, like, our problems with cosplay competitions is generally it seems like they're more just taking off points for you doing things incorrectly as opposed to giving you points for being creative.
Yep. Again, I think it's just generally a lot of stuff at cons that are competitions don't need to be.
Yeah.
Like, they should be about like, the thing about the furry community is you guys are normally so good at celebrating each other.
Mm-hmm.
So to see an event like this done with such negativity, like, it felt wrong.
Yeah, it was just real weird. I think we've beaten that to death a little bit.
Probably, but it annoyed me.
Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to say then?
Yeah, make this panel about 2.5 hours long. Make it an easy sign-up process where you just scan a QR code at the door and don't have judging on it. Just
or if you're going to have judging, just like have somebody compliment every person who goes up there for some reason and make their prize like bracelets like they're on all the other panels and everyone just gets one from being brave enough to come up there.
Yep. Nope. Oh, hell, I would run this panel at a con just to, like, have everybody have fun with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, in all honesty, if I was running this panel at a con, I would go first and I would pick the stupidest song I could just to make sure everybody after me felt comfortable.
Mm.
But that's just me.
I mean, you kind of did that in the later panel.
Yep. So yeah, that did not start the day off on a great note, I'm not going to lie. And
then we had a ridiculously long break.
Yeah, which also didn't help.
Yep.
It did mean we were kind of stewing on that for a while.
Like, the thing is, like, because I didn't think this affected us directly, it was kind of a little bit fun to kind of hate watch.
Yeah.
They did have the fursuit photo, and they don't tend to send... most cons have a fursuit parade. This one didn't. This one just had a fursuit photo.
Yep.
That was scheduled for nearly 2 hours, and there was nothing up against it other than the VR chat meetup.
Yeah. So I have a theory.
Mm.
You can feel, if anybody from the con is listening and wants to correct me on this theory, feel free. My theory is when they were putting the schedule together, they were planning on this being the fursuit parade, and then the venue told them no. Because again, there would have been nowhere they could parade without going through security, and that clearly wasn't happening.
It's definitely possible. It's also possible they just didn't have time to plan. Like, I will say, even some fursuits you can only realistically wear for an hour or so. For people to get in and out of them does take a significant amount of time, plus to corral people. But that said, it does seem like 2 hours for a photo is kind of long. Mm-hmm. And also, I 100% appreciate that there's a lot of events at cons that should be catered to fursuiters. But realistically, only about somewhere between 20 and 50, which I realize is a ridiculous range, of people who are in the furry community actually do fursuit. And it would be nice for the people who don't fursuit to have something else to do during these time periods, particularly if it's something like a photo, where like you're not really included in that in any way.
Yeah,
like I know that they don't really actually care if you're in a fursuit for the photo. If you just wanted to like stand there to be in the photo, I doubt they would care all that much.
At least based on the one photo we saw this weekend, the one with the terrified children in it. We'll explain that when we get there. Yep. But, yeah, it was very much just a case of, we ended up with a real dead spot in the middle of the day, and like it would have been nice to have some panels in there.
Yeah.
I do get the impression that, like, a lot of people who are potentially paneling at FurCons don't want to be opposite, the parade or the photo, because they assume no one will turn up.
I don't think that's a fair assumption, though, a lot of times. It does mean that you'll probably have less of a crowd, but there's a ton of people who don't fursuit at FurCons.
Yep.
Like, more than I think people think, who are just kind of idly milling about.
At least in part because fursuits are expensive.
In part because they're expensive, and in part because like I do like the community generally, and I think there's a lot of people like us who just kind of hang around the community because they like the vibes as opposed to wanting to fursuit. That's quite a few people.
Yep.
And for me, I love costuming. It's just fursuits aren't for me. That's fine. Like, I love the artistry of them.
Right, can you imagine you in a fursuit with the full ball gown as well?
Oh gosh, that would be.
That would be an interesting challenge for me as a handler. So yeah, so it did mean we had just kind of this long lull. So I went back to the car, got myself some caffeine, brought back So Clover, which is one of our go-to con games.
Yeah, we got aggressively like more deranged as we were playing that.
Yeah, we got kind of like. Okay, does the term punchy translate into American?
I think so, generally.
Yeah, just in terms of like we were throwing some weird clues at each other the further we got in it because we were just being silly at that point.
Yeah, I think I put like one being yes, no, okay, and question mark on each side of the board.
Yeah, and I just looked at you and went, really?
Well, you were given so many obscure sci-fi clues at that point. I was like, this is payback.
I gave you... No, the next round after you did that to me was where I gave you the obscure sci-fi clues.
You were already giving me obscure sci-fi clues. You just went more obscure. Also, we're about to pass through the first of like 6 Virginia or West Virginia toll booths.
Thankfully, it's only 3.
But it costs like $12. Or actually, like it costs us like $30 to get back and forth through the state of West Virginia, which I suppose is somewhat understandable given that, like, you know, they did have to build this turnpike through mountains. But nonetheless, I feel like it's capitalism in its finest.
Yeah, again, it's $4.5. Like,
and we're not going to bother to turn off the podcast, so enjoy this live conversation with a toll booth attendant.
Yep.
Because they only take cash.
Yeah. Hello. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
This was quality and riveting content.
Yep. For the record, I'm always that polite, not just when I'm being recorded. So, we did end up with that like long lull period in the middle of the day.
Hey, look, you can use the Turnpike Unlimited for less than $30, which would be worth it if you went through it even more than once.
Yep. Which we're not doing, so we probably should get an easy pass at some point. I'll look into it.
No, you won't. You're going to forget about it immediately.
No, of course I will. We're not getting home until like 10:30 at night.
Is it 10:30?
Yeah. You didn't know? I thought that noise was going to be, oh, goody. I thought it was going to be later than that. Like, you were convinced we weren't going to get home till midnight.
At some point, yeah. Anywho. Oh, look, we're back to where the trees aren't, like, on yet.
What she means is they're still in their winter
I feel like that was perfectly clear.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was. You understood it.
Well, yeah, but that's because I understand your brain. Ish. On some days. Anyway. So yeah, we got very silly as we were kind of like sitting in the atrium waiting. And it was interesting because of where we were kind of right next to where people were walking to get from the venue back up to their hotel room. Mm-hmm. And because, of course, this was your classic hotel that's not really designed for this many people trying to use the lifts all at once, there was a lot of fursuiters kind of standing next to us at one point, and then moving on in small groups, and then you'd get a new bunch of fursuiters because they were all heading back to their rooms to get changed after taking the photo. Mm-hmm. So we did get our own mini fursuit parade.
Yeah, which is cute. Yep. I've seen some of the very interesting costumes. And it is interesting because there are definitely some fursuits that I pretty much only see at the fursuit parade. Maybe they only break them out for fursuit parade, maybe dances or stuff like that. But I know some fursuits are very elaborate, and if they're not properly cooled, you can only realistically wear them for very short periods of time. So, but it was interesting to see. It was also because of where we were angled. People could see you, but they couldn't see me because I was like back behind a wall that was blocking off, which meant we had 3 different people come up and try to hit on you, then realize I was there, which was hilarious.
Yeah, but this is the thing. You find it funny when people hit on me at FurCons. And the thing is, they're almost always male-coded, which, for the record, I'm not offended by. I don't swing that way, but I'm not offended by it.
For the record, like, you don't need to stop on my behalf, though. If you want to shoot your shot with him, you have my full permission.
Again, you keep trying to pimp me out of the furries.
I'm just saying that I'm perfectly okay with it, and you get to obviously still say no if you want to, but the reason you're saying no should not be because of me. I'm fine with it.
Fair. And again, as I say, I am not attracted to men, but I have zero problem with being flirted with by men. Like, I don't care.
Yeah, it was just more amusing because I did think that they didn't realize that you were, you know,
Married to you.
yeah, like more heteronormative than they thought.
Yeah.
You do give off kind of a vibe.
I did once as a teenager get, one of my friends at school described me as, and I quote, the campest straight bloke you'll ever meet. Which I don't think is completely accurate, but it's not inaccurate. Plus, quite a few people this weekend thought I was doing a Doctor Who cosplay. Because again, apparently my steampunk coat gives off David Tennant vibes. It's fair.
We also met the con newcomer again because they came up to the table.
Yep. Which actually does give us an opportunity to talk about something we found out as a result.
Yes.
Because they realised they'd left their badge at home.
Yes.
And they got there on the bus.
Yes.
And we did actually...
We offered to drive them back just because we had a bit of a lull period, and I'm like, we can help out if we can, because it was about a 20-minute drive, which, that's not nothing, but it was during a lull period anyway.
I think it was 20 minutes on the bus, so
yeah.
It probably would have been faster in a car. But either way. But they kind of had they wanted to get to the Smash Brothers tournament, I believe.
And that was starting soon. And then they realized they didn't have their con badge, which ordinarily wouldn't be, like, for a lot of cons, particularly for the games room, which they almost never badge check at, that wouldn't be that big a deal.
Yeah, again, honor system.
But cons do have policies about what to do if you lose your badge, and they do vary between con to con generally. This is, by the way, why this wouldn't help them, but, like, this is why we always try to make sure to keep our badges in the car so that they're not too far away.
Yep. So yeah, GalaxyCon, for example, if you lose your badge, tough stuff, you're buying a new one. Like full price, no leeway. This convention,
and that's pretty standard across a lot of cons.
It's not uncommon. This convention had a different policy, which was they went to con ops, they basically explained what had happened. They printed them a fresh one, they charged them half price for it, and basically said, if you return that before the end of convention, you'd get that money back. I like this policy.
Yeah, it's a great system.
Because that basically meant when they came back, today, they could return the spare badge and get their money back.
Yeah.
That's actually a really nice little system. It does mean you're still paying 50% if you completely lost the badge. But if you just, forgot it at home.
Yeah. Which is probably the most common way you're going to lose it.
Or even like it's just gone missing in your hotel room, you didn't have time to find it. Again, I like this as a policy. Like, more cons should adopt it.
Yeah, I really liked it too. Like, great on them generally. And yeah, it seemed like this person was having a really good first con experience. So
I hope so.
I hope we see them at another con sometime.
Yep. Again, they're local to this one, so I don't know how likely they are to travel to various ones in Ohio we go to. But hey, if you end up listening to this and you're curious, con spreadsheets in the show notes, or the description if you're watching on YouTube. And that's literally just a spreadsheet of all the cons we go to, or are thinking of going to. So yeah.
So after that, finally, after getting punch drunk and offering to drive that person back, we went to, we caught the end of the feline meet and greet panel, which was, I don't know why I expected, but there was
a lot of yarn on the floor.
Yes, there was a lot of yarn that was tangled on the floor. There was boxes. There was a bunch of stuff scattered around. I got to watch people radio about, hey, do you have any scissors? The cat meet and greet.
Yeah, some of the yarn was so tangled that they were having a Gordian knot the situation.
Yep. It was great. And some people were complimenting me on my cosplay, and this said, one of the people who was complimenting me on my cosplay is by far the most realistic, like, cheetah-looking mouth. It was a cheetah cosplayer, very anthropomorphic. It wasn't traditional, like, furry cartoon animal. It was very much a realistic, like, cheetah or leopard cat with a fully functional working mouth that was just, it was a fantastic piece of art.
Yeah, I feel bad for the fact I was looking down trying to manage the train on your dress at that point, so I missed it completely.
Like, they were so good. Like, I was a little unnerved talking to them just because of how good their voice was. Like, it was just amazing, like, in terms of a piece of art. So, and furry conventions are always great for looking at art in every form.
Because, yeah, we haven't actually mentioned what you were wearing that day.
Oh, yeah, I was dressed sort of as the Air Fairy because there was a Neopets meetup after this. So I had my Air Fairy cosplay, which would have worked better if I remember my Neopets plush, but I probably couldn't have brought them in anyway because I probably wouldn't have want them to get badge searched.
Yep.
Because in part, those things are expensive, and I don't want other people touching them.
Yep.
Especially if they've been touching a bunch of other stuff.
Yep.
So after the feline meet and greet, which we kind of sort of caught the end of, was cats in boxes, silly games, and silly trivia, which was
Quite silly.
I don't even know how to begin to describe this.
Yeah, so they set out a bunch of big boxes in the middle of
Uh-huh.
the route, in the middle of the space, because this was in Panel MC again.
Yep.
And then they had like a PowerPoint with some like light cat trivia.
Yeah, they had about 10 or I think 8 cat trivia questions, so that
Yep.
took all of like about 5-ish minutes.
Yep.
And it wasn't, they didn't call anyone up for this, they just had people shout out the answers and guess at them.
Yep.
And they were all multiple choice, so people just guessed which answer they thought it was. But it is interesting, they did continue to suggest the fact that cats can't experience or can't taste sweet stuff, which I have heard before. But it's interesting because almost everyone I know has a cat that like eats stuff that are sweet. So I don't know what they taste when they taste that.
Goodness knows. Yeah, because the person behind us, I don't know if you heard them, was like, my cat really likes cream though.
Mm-hmm.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, and I've known a lot of cat owners who've said their cat likes a particular like sweet substance, so maybe they just taste it differently or something.
Who knows? It's not like we can ask them.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I told you this. I've shown you the picture of Emma eating cream, right?
The one where she looks demented?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that was at a friend's parents' house because I have a weird family situation. I was spending Christmas with them that year. So they gave Emma whipped cream, and because my friend's dad is a vet, they also just have a bunch of animals around. So they had, I think, 3 dogs and 2 cats at that time. And Emma was eating whipped cream at the table. And all of them were just surrounding the table in a state of pure jealousy. It was just very cute.
Yeah, well, he really likes Emma. Like, he's basically said if we ever, are in a situation where we can't look after her anymore, he will adopt her instantly.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think he really likes dogs that are a little bit more like shy in personality, because a lot of the dogs he gets are a little bit more shy in personality. So I think he likes those more than the wild ones.
Yeah. Which is fair.
Emma still has a big personality, though.
She does. She's just nervous about showing it.
Mm-hmm. So after the trivia, which took 5 minutes, there were a bunch of boxes.
So
I think 7 boxes.
7 or was it 8?
Might have been 8. I don't really remember.
Yeah, so they got a bunch of volunteers up from the audience and asked each of them to get in a box.
Yeah, so for some of them they sat in the box. For others, the box was more just kind of on them because a lot of these people were in fursuits.
Yeah, they were decent sized boxes.
Yeah.
They then proceeded to tell them like what type of cat they were based on the box they'd sat in.
Yep.
That was kind of the end of the battle. Like, it was very chaotic and weird.
Yeah, well, like, they had little things. Like, one cat was, like, the helicopter cat, and they had to shoot something down with, like, but not an airsoft gun, let me emphasize that.
Yeah,
it
was a quote-unquote
Nerf gun.
rocket. No. It was a quote-unquote rocket launcher that was basically made out of pipe.
Yep, it wasn't real or anything.
Yeah.
They played the song Smelly Cat for the person that was in the Smelly Cat box.
Yep.
I think Cool Cat got to put on sunglasses.
There was a lot of weirdness.
Yep. And yeah, that was that panel.
Yeah, I do not know what the heck else we say about that one.
Yep. And there was some time at the end, so people were just hanging out talking. I really want to know what this person was thinking when they pitched this, which is not to say that it was bad. It was just extraordinarily not how my brain works.
Yep. That pretty much sums it up.
Yeah.
Like, there was a lot of, what the? Okay.
Sure.
Going on in this panel. So, yeah. So, again, it was very weird, but we had fun.
Mm-hmm.
What did we do after that?
We briefly checked out to see how our friend was doing in the
Smash Brothers tournament?
Yep. So they won all their matches so far. I think
Yep.
they wound up getting 3rd place.
Yep. So, good for them.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I think we hung out in the games room a bit.
Yep.
Was that when we broke out Cues and Clues?
Yes. By the way, the person across the table from us, which I don't think you could see because they were kind of sitting behind you, because we went on a series of times where the clue was just Ocean Gate over and over again.
Yeah. You did keep doing that.
Well, that's because, like, you kept, like, okay, so Cues and Clues is a very interesting game because it's basically just a board with a grid color pattern on it with a bunch of different colors, and you have to give a clue that is not a color that tells you how to get to the different colors on the board.
Yep.
And it typically has to be a 1-word clue. You kept picking dark blue colors, so all I could think of was Ocean Gate. Which is also making the person across the table from us laugh hysterically also, because
Oh,
I
was
saw
it?
that. Yes.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, they were looking at us the entire time and like laughing as I kept giving an Ocean Gate. You just kept picking numbers that were in that section of the board.
So yeah.
So,
Once again, we were kind of punch drunk.
yeah.
You know, this is what happens when we don't get our caffeine properly. Actually, I lied. This happens when we've had our caffeine as well.
So then we went into the Neopians of Jelly World.
Ah, yes. This was a battle you were very much looking forward to.
I was so excited about this.
I'm going to mostly leave this one to you.
Yes. So I have been to Neopets panels before at Furry Cons. This was opposite Dance Battle, so I do think there were fewer people in it than there otherwise would have been. But Neopets still to this day is a virtual pet website started in 1999. I think anyone who was like a child in between 1999 and probably 2010 probably played it in some capacity, or at least a lot of people did. It still is a website today. I still play it today kind of casually. It's basically a capitalism simulator where you can own pets. There's a lot of lore behind this that I could spend way too much time explaining and probably should not. Let's go with should not.
Yep.
And I've gone to panels on this topic before at Furry Cons. I think both were before we started this podcast, both by a person who also happened to be hanging out in this panel who has a Rainbow Kugura fursuit suit. So for me, it's really nice to be able to talk about this with somebody because, like, it's similar to you with, like, your sci-fi stuff. The community of people who are into it are small, and, like, Neopets and Degrassi are, like, fandoms of mine. So whenever I get to be in a group of people like that, which is rare, it's really fun for me.
Yeah.
And this one was interesting because it wasn't just a here's what Neopets are panel. This was a game panel where this person set up a bunch of kind of random stations you could go around to and draw little sticker creatures. And with those little sticker creatures, you could then earn Neo points by drawing the sticker creatures. One of which was a game where you had to like step on stuff. Other was a game where you had to like draw on stuff to basically gain Neo points prizes, which were donated by the Neopets vendor, the vendor's hall, who was the person who ran the other two panels. So the games themselves were cute. They only lasted about 30 minutes, but the nice thing about this was that it was in panel room B, which was that back workshop with tables.
Yep.
Like the games were really cute. Like I like kind of embracing my inner child by playing games like this because this was the exact type of thing I adored as a kid, and I think this person did a really good job of capturing that childlike energy I love. It was appropriately themed. It was based around Jelly World, which is this hidden world in Neopets. If you're familiar with how URLs work, Neopets, particularly back in the day when kids were playing, it was a way to kind of teach them about URLs because Jelly was, if you typed in Neopets/Jelly, you could be directed to Jelly World, but it wasn't something that was linked anywhere on their website, so the only way you could get there was by typing in the URL, and kids figured out how to do this and then passed it on to people. It was similar to how like early Pokemon had like lore like that, you know?
Yep.
So Jelly World was a hidden world that they based these games around of, so you had to like play a Jelly-themed game where you got stuff from the Jelly-themed blob. You got to take stuff from the giant jelly. You got to play very jelly themed games. You got to take giant steps to do like games and stuff like that. And it was so cute. I love this so much. And then at the end of that, because everyone finished the games in about 30-ish minutes, I would say, and you had another 30-ish minutes before you tallied up scores, I got to sit down with some other Neopets superfans and talk about Neopets, and it was really cool. Like, I really just enjoyed this, being able to talk about it. And, like, most people who play Neopets are pretty generous with it. So one person just had a bunch of Neopets trading cards because they bought too many and let everyone at the table just pick out their favorite cards. So I got a bunch of cards. And the people who own the Neopet stalls who gave away the prizes, I wanted to, like, frequent their stall a little bit later just to support a vendor who was making Neopets products in, 2026. So I loved all these people. I hope we'll meet them at another con so I can talk to them more about Neopets and other stuff because they all seem very, very cool. And that was fun. Do you have anything to add? You were mostly flagging during this panel.
People seem to be having fun.
Okay.
Again, I never played Neopets largely because, like, my part of the UK took too long to get the internet. So by the time I had internet that didn't completely suck, I was too old.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I was probably close to 15 before we had broadband.
I mean, it was pretty common for teenagers to play, but it was more of a girl game. That's not to say that. And obviously there's not a lot of furry crossover with Neopets generally.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something for which everyone seems to think that Neopets is like this niche interest in the furry fandom. Like, I do think this was a little bit less well attended because it was opposite the dance competition. But every time I go anywhere to come with my Neopets plushies, people recognize them and like offer me stuff. So I also wound up winning just because I happened to draw the one of the cards misprinted to have 16 million Neo points on it when everything else was like worth like a few 100,000 at most.
Yep.
So I wound up winning just because there was a typo on the card, and I got my first Neopets pin, which I'm so excited about. So thank you to those vendors.
Yep.
So I tried to freak with them a little bit the next day to return the favor. But yeah, it's just so much fun. Oh my gosh, I was a little bit nervous to talk to people at the beginning, but then when we all were sitting down at the table, it was a lot of fun generally, and we got to talk with everyone, and I was just having a blast. It was great.
This was also where I got the opportunity to discuss the security situation with the aforementioned vendors. And,
yep, that's where we found out about sandwich stuff.
Yep.
Not to call any, that probably does identify those particular vendors, but they were being encouraged to tell people.
Yeah. Again, all they did was basically tell us, yep, we got told we were allowed to bring in only snacks. And we were like, well, we're gonna be here for the next 12 hours. We need food. Like, well, you can bring in half a sandwich. Okay.
Keep in mind the vendors can't really leave. Maybe if you happen to have 2 people at your booth, you can trade off shifts, but a lot of people are a solo operation.
Yep. So yeah.
And if you're not at your booth, you're not making money during peak con hours. So.
Yeah, because I think this panel was after the vendors hall had closed, wasn't it? Which is why they were able to attend. So yeah. So what did we do after that?
After that was Nailed It Dried Edition.
Yes. So this was based on this was another old game show, I believe.
No, this was not an old game show. This is a new Netflix show, but I have seen it.
Okay.
It's basically a cake decorating show where they try to give the contestants the tasks of making impossible cakes. And the main thing with that show is they don't give them enough time to actually make the cakes, so all the cakes look melted and horrible at the end because they don't give them enough time to actually cool the cakes well enough to stop the frosting from melting, so it's kind of lame. But it's also from people who typically don't bake a lot. So it's hard for them to recreate these decorations and stuff like that.
So the entire point is it's going to suck.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically. Yep. Whereas this was basically that, but with drawing and giving people impossible quote-unquote drawing tasks. I will admit the actual drawing tasks weren't that hard for people who know how to draw.
Yeah.
But they were hard for people who don't know how to draw.
You mean like me?
Yeah. So I had you volunteer, so people who did not know how to draw would feel comfortable going up later.
Yep. Because you like using me as a sacrifice at these kind of panel.
Yeah, I liked your, rabbit ragdoll art thing.
Yeah, because the first prompt was, okay, your persona is in GTA 5, has just been hit by a car and ragdoll.
Yep.
What does that look like? We got given a pad and some paper, and a pencil, and I was like, okay. So I started drawing the stick figure. At which point the host said, "So you've got 10 minutes to draw this," and I went, "Oh."
Yeah, I did not know that it was going to be for a time period that was actually long enough that would give people who actually knew what they were doing time to at least create something.
Yep. So suffice to say, the other 2 people did a substantially better job than I did.
Yeah, but you went last, and it was funny.
Yep.
And it also made Furrycons tend to have a lot of drawing and pass it on events, and as somebody who doesn't has no drawing experience whatsoever and also has dysgraphia, I can't really participate in them very well. So I like the idea that there was a bad drawing event. I do kind of wish there had been a little bit more encouragement for people who actually didn't know how to draw coming up there as opposed to people who did know how to draw.
Yep.
But that said, we did get it kind of, I think, about even a mix of drawing ability, where a couple people had drawing ability that was similar to yours, which was to say...
None.
Yeah. And some people clearly had a lot of drawing ability, which I did like. And this was run by the same person who was running a few of the other panels with the, make fun of you humor style. And this was another event where I thought it worked fine because it was clearly meant to be an event where you were making fun of yourself.
Yeah. Again, the fact that, I have no idea what the hell was going on with my art, but, it was terrible, but it was terrible in a way that was quite funny.
Yeah. And for part of that, while people were in the audience waiting, they did have an idea to make a Hallmark movie, basically. I think they had to eschew that plan because our Hallmark movie was too horrific.
It did involve a lot of people without limbs.
Yep.
Which is a pity because, like, they kind of moved on from that and just kind of vaguely started talking about movies.
Yeah, I wanted to go back to the Hallmark movie thing. I was having fun with that, so I was hoping we could like create an ending to it.
Yeah, we were going to pitch an idea of they like adopt a child who has too many limbs or
Yeah.
something along those lines. Like, or actually, no, I think it was going to be a love triangle.
Yeah.
Okay, also another toll booth. Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day. So yeah, we would have liked to finish out that Hallmark movie, but I think the host just kind of got distracted.
Yeah. I will admit, people talking about movies I haven't seen is like one of my least favorite conversation topics. So I was kind of flagging a bit there.
Yep.
It's almost like I have that problem a lot in my life with people talking about movies or TV shows I haven't seen.
Well, that's largely because you don't watch many movies or TV shows because you find movies boring.
Yes, that's entirely why. It's that reason, and not like, that my spouse like often talks about movies and TV shows I haven't seen.
I mean, if you watched more of the things I like. That's the problem. I tried to show her Babylon 5 once.
I watched an episode. I watched one episode and I did not mock it. I tried to legitimately enjoy it. And besides, we still have to watch Yu-Gi-Oh, which...
We do need to watch more Yu-Gi-Oh
at some point.
Well, we made it to the end of the first arc. There's still somehow 8 episodes of season 1 left to go.
Yeah. I will admit, I'm kind of hoping that one picks up in season 2, because I know a lot of our friends really love Yu-Gi-Oh, and I did like it a lot as a child. As an adult, it's kind of hard to rewatch.
Well, hopefully once they actually have rules to the card game that make sense, then,
Yeah, maybe it'll get a little bit better.
Also an animation budget.
Yeah. Yeah, I did not realize how little animation budget they had.
Yep.
But yeah, there was all sorts of drawing skills in this. I thought the person did a much better job. I just kind of wish they got back to the Hallmark movie plot, because that was a more entertaining, audience sync for me generally than the other stuff plot.
Yeah. So yeah, again, perfectly fun panel. I very nearly went up to them and was like, hey, can I donate this to tomorrow's charity auction? It would have raised no money.
No.
But it would have been funny.
Yep.
Because it was terrible art.
Mm-hmm.
But again, everybody else also did fairly... Well, actually, no, several people did some really good art.
Yeah. Some of which was on whiteboards, which I can't draw on a whiteboard worth anything. And these people did, masterpieces on it.
Yep. Yeah, the person replicating the Silent Hill movie poster in particular, what the hell?
They also signed that. I admire that.
Great job. So, yeah. So at this point, we toddled over to room B.
Yep.
With the intention of going to, what was it called? Furfinity Bingo?
Yes. I think that's what it's called. I will double check.
Well, Furry Bingo or Furfinity Bingo?
Yeah. It was Furry Art Bingo.
Furry Art Bingo, thank you.
They were using the website for Affinity.
Yes. So the basic, so this was a not safe for work panel.
Mm-hmm.
And our plan had basically been to just, hang out in the room.
We knew they were checking IDs outside. We weren't really sure what the rules were with that, in terms of what they needed to check, particularly because sometimes if you have accessibility issues, the rules are different for you than they are for other people.
Yep.
We probably should have just asked.
Yeah, but again, asking is always difficult.
Yeah. So they explained that they needed to clear the rooms, and they came up to us and explained it, because I think we were kind of confused about it.
Yep.
And this made me feel a little bit bad. This was not anyone's fault. It's just sometimes one of the things that triggers victims of child abuse is feeling like you're not following the rules or doing something wrong. This person was completely and totally polite about it and very understanding. They did nothing wrong. It was just something for which I was a little bit overwhelmed.
Yeah, again, it's you in particular,
their tone was very polite.
Yeah, again, no criticism on them specifically.
No.
It's just feeling like you've disobeyed a rule really hits you hard, because you're constantly terrified you're going to be punished for it, basically.
Yeah. So we did that. I was a little bit overwhelmed, but they at least thankfully had chairs right over there where I could just sit and wait, which I was really glad they had that day.
Yeah.
We also got a hint at that point of some of the chaos of stuff going on with the night market.
Yeah. Because again, I think the night market was more popular than anticipated. So we'll talk. We didn't actually even attempt to go into the night market, but we'll talk briefly about what it is if you're not familiar. The night market is a vendor's hall for not safe for work stuff.
Yep.
Because obviously this is a family-friendly con. The vendor's hall did not have any NSFW stuff.
Yep.
The night market was where you could find that stuff if you wanted to, and apparently a lot of people wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the line was stretched back to main events, and around the time we were out there, they made the announcement, because it was about 9 then, that they would not, the night market was at capacity, and they wouldn't be letting any new people in until 10:30.
Yeah.
Which, they clearly, I think, had underestimated the interest in the night market, although in fairness, because you can't really put it in the vendors hall, because you have to take down all the tables, they put it in the biggest space they possibly could. Like, maybe you could put it in main events? But then the nightly dance is in main events,
Yeah.
so...
So yeah, like they were working with what they had, I
Yeah.
think is the issue. You know,
and I do appreciate them being very safe about fire safety this weekend. Like, a lot of cons aren't, and having this con, like, being that careful about checking for fire safety as somebody with pretty extreme claustrophobia
Yep.
and disabilities and the need to want to get out of spaces quickly, and
Yep.
a husband who also searches for that for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I appreciate them being very sensitive to stuff like that, because
Yes.
it means a lot to me.
Okay,
That
good.
said, I was also not burned by it, so I can't understand why other people were kind of frustrated.
Yeah.
But keep in mind, you would not have been able to shop if you were let in a situation like that. Like, people were also commenting on that being a problem.
Yeah. Because again, we have been keeping an eye on the Telegram chat at this con just to see what the issues that people were having were. And, I think generally what was in the Telegram chat was actually pretty positive.
Yep.
But again, there were definitely a few issues here and there.
Yeah.
A lot of complaining about the hotel Wi-Fi, which is valid.
Well, I could also tell that this was probably around the time of day where the staff seemed most stressed out.
Yep.
They seemed a bit over their heads at this point, which is not bad. But it is, I was sure, a stressful experience for them too.
Yeah, I think it's partially just because they had a set time for the transition to after dark hours, when they would be, like ID checking and making sure all the kids were out and all of that kind of stuff. I do think it meant they ended up having to do a lot of things at once, which I think was just kind of a stressful thing for them.
Yeah. I also do think, and this is not just for them, but I honestly think, like, generally adult hours, particularly at furry cons, are kind of an unofficial rule at furry cons, but I do think that more furry cons should be making them, like, official rules generally, of just saying after X time, people under the age of 18 won't be allowed in the space. I do get why there's some reason to not do that, because things like the dances and things like that are probably fine for underage people to attend.
Yeah.
But it is something for which it does put extra strain on the con.
Yeah.
And obviously, like, very young kids aren't going to be there probably at 9 o'clock at night to attend very loud dance parties, but teenagers might be.
Yeah, you might have some 16 or 17-year-olds who want to go to the dance party. So yeah. So we basically ended up sitting directly across from the panel rooms, and as soon as they started letting people in, we basically sort of said, "Hey, ADA," and they said, "Yep, cool." Once again, scanned your ID, looked at mine, and went, "Yep, that seems fine," and let us in. So we went back to this chair, and I actually realized when we left panel room B, I'd accidentally left my terrible artwork behind on the table. So we ended up getting the exact same seats that we would have. So I got my artwork back.
Yeah. Well, we're also one of the first people in the rooms. We're in ADA seating.
Yeah.
And we did rearrange the chairs behind us just so I would not have the space that I needed around my dress, because people were stepping on my dress a little bit today, but they were all very apologetic about it. It was understandable in the space.
Yeah. Because again, you do have to be especially careful of fursuiters who have
they might just not see
visibility.
it. Yeah. But anytime it was just like, "Hey, you're on my dress," or "Hey, be careful," everyone was very respectful.
Yeah.
So we sat down. They had bingo cards.
Yep.
And basically how this worked is Fur Affinity has a randomized tab where you can just click on it.
It doesn't.
Okay.
I realized how they were doing this.
Okay.
Somebody made them a custom Google Chrome extension.
That's awesome.
That's what they were using. That basically just, they clicked in it, pulled up a random thing on Fur Affinity. We should probably explain what Fur Affinity is.
Yes.
It's a website where furries can post art. I get the impression it's mostly art based on the random stuff that come up. There was some writing. There were a couple of bits of music.
Yep.
But it was mostly art. A lot of the art that you're going to get on Fur Affinity is very not safe for work, which is why this was an 18+ panel.
Yeah, keep in mind not all of it is. Some of it's just random fursuit photos. Some of it's just cute stuff.
Yep.
Like, I would say about 40% of what we saw was safe for work.
Yeah. The rest was not.
Yep.
Which, again, that's why it was an 18+ panel. But yeah, and basically the bingo cards had various things that you might see on them. We'll not go into too many details, but for example, um, micro macro was one of the boxes, which basically means a small thing and a big thing.
Yep.
Various other more complicated tags that I'm not going to get into. And then, yeah, you will basically just, they would pull up a random thing, and then if it matched one of your categories, you could pick that category off.
Yeah, I think they originally had intended so that each round everyone would have a new bingo card, but then quickly realized that the room had 200 people in it, and they only printed like 250 bingo cards because they were at fire capacity for this event because it was very popular. So they just had everyone reusing the same bingo cards and like going for blackouts and things like that.
Yeah.
And pretty much everyone who stayed in the room got a prize.
Yeah,
so.
Again, they had a decent number of prizes. They had, just bracelets and like little squish things.
And I also like the bingos were just honor system. Like if you said you had a bingo, you would just get something because the prizes were no stakes whatsoever.
Again, some of the some of the squares were also like impossible to judge by anybody else because it was stuff like your personal favorite cake.
Yep. Which it took a while for yours to come up. I'm not going to say what it is.
Yeah. Hey, apparently my personal favorite kink is not that popular on Fur Affinity.
Yeah, weirdly mine didn't come up at all.
Really?
Yep.
Huh. Anyway.
Like, I'm surprised you didn't notice that it didn't.
Well, to be fair, we saw a lot of art.
Yeah.
Because again, they were also going through it. The other thing is that
I think I put cute things for my favorite kink, to be fair.
Yeah. But again, a lot of stuff on Fur Affinity also gets deleted.
Yep.
The URL for it still exists. It just throws up an error code that's like, this is no longer here. And the entire audience started making a game out of how many this has been deleted things could we get in a row. Which that was a lot of fun because it was like, okay, we've got 2, we're going to get 3. There's a 3rd, woo, cheering. Can we go for 4? Ah, there's actual art. Again, everybody was just having fun and just playing along. This was a very silly panel.
Yep.
But it was a lot of fun.
It was a blast. And we wound up sitting next to another rabbit lover, not like rabbit lover in the like sexual like another rabbit owner of a physical bunny.
Yeah, so we were showing pictures, and they were like once again like Hip and Hop were very popular this weekend, which is the stuffed toy bunny.
They are very good quality plush.
Yep.
So, and furries know they're plush.
Yep.
And a lot of plush these days is that newer style where it has just kind of fuzz on it, whereas these are like very like furry and like well done, I think, with glass eyes as opposed to like sewn-on eyes and stuff like that. So,
there were several furries this weekend who took pictures of their tags so they could look up the company later, which is valid. Living nature.
Also at mile 69, which seems fitting for the panel we're on.
Yeah.
Although we didn't see a lot of that in the panel either.
There was at least one.
Yep. Also, some of it is just drawings of people, not even furry. So
yeah, again, non-furry was one of the categories.
Yep.
So yeah, again, this was very stupid and very fun, and was popular. We actually heard the panel director at the end come up to the hosts and basically say, "Yeah, you guys were at capacity the entire hour. If you want to do this panel again next year, remind me of that fact, and I'll make sure you're in a bigger room."
Yep.
Which it says something that the panel director was going around and doing that.
Yeah, the panel director was doing a fantastic job this weekend.
Yeah, they were working their their butt off this weekend. But yeah, this was very silly, very very fun. We had a blast with this.
Yep.
At least in part because I had one particular category that just would not come up. That was the last thing I needed for my blackout.
It was a couple people were all on that by the end of it. So.
Yep. So, I was just, yelling for it, in a way that, out of context, would be very weird, because this was not a kink I'm going to discuss in public.
Yeah.
But it was funny.
Another of my favorite moments from this panel was, they did say, there would be certain, special, mostly just applause awards or stuff for, people for whom certain things come up. So one of the, fake awards that they were giving out was if you had your own artwork show up on there.
Yeah, which did happen.
It did happen. And that person's friend, while they were looking very embarrassed, was just shouting about it.
Yep. They were just like, it's theirs. It's like, God damn it. Why did you have to tell them that?
I mean, that wasn't even a risque piece of art. I think it was just a cub picture or something.
Again, it was just a sketch of their persona, I believe, or some kind of artwork. But again, it was just... This panel was dumb in exactly the right way.
Yeah, and the room was great energy for it. and everyone's having a blast in it.
Yep. Like my only note for them is like, given if you're getting a bigger room next time, there are digital bingo card options you might want to consider looking into rather than printing them.
Yeah, it might save you a bit of money. It might be easier generally.
Yep.
My minor thing is just like be very clear about what each category counts for also, because sometimes it's confusing for categories. So just like have a list of the categories in front of you and maybe shout out the ones you think it should be.
Yeah,
which it can be kind of but it can be kind of loosey-goosey also because it really doesn't matter all that much.
Yeah, when the prizes are like, just little kind of trinket things.
I like my pussy, which refers to a cat bracelet that I got.
Yep. That refers to a cat.
Yes.
So yeah, like it was a very, very fun, very, very silly panel. We had a blast with. Like I would absolutely do this panel again. Mm-hmm. And again, I very much appreciate when panel hosts like love the audience interacting and just like yelling nonsense back at them in this kind of chaotic panel.
Yeah, I do want to comment on something that we did see coming out of the panel. Not to bring the vibes down because this was an amazing panel. It was just like there's a random security guard that's not associated with the the con itself, but with the convention staff that was out there. Mm-hmm. And that was one thing that we saw all weekend is that the con did just have random security staff kind of back there, and at one point they were guarding the bathrooms, which made me feel a bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, that was a bit weird.
Because I don't know for sure if they were actually doing it to make sure that the people were going into the correctly gender-assigned restroom or something like that. I doubt that they were, but it made me feel like they were doing that.
Yep.
Which, again, is not against the con, but it is against the center. And, generally, if the con has any say, just please ask them to not guard next to the bathrooms, because that's creepy and weird.
Again, just, you didn't need this level of security, generally, which, again, I know was not your decision.
Yeah. I'm sorry, we keep saying you, because we know Furry convention staff actually do tend to listen to this, so because they like our long and exacting detailed reviews that we give.
Yep. Hey, the one thing the furry community is generally very good at is taking feedback and improving as a result.
Yep.
Which means, because they freely admit that they'll be sending out surveys and stuff. Like, I am very happy to fill out a survey, but quite frankly, if you want 3 hours of detailed feedback and advice, here you go. Mm-hmm. So yeah. So again, this panel was an absolute blast.
Yep.
It was also the point at which we were like, yep, that's a good high note to end on for today.
So I went back. You actually dropped me off at the Airbnb because I just needed to rest.
You needed to rest and get out of your dress.
Yep. And then you went to go get Popeyes.
Yep. This time the line wasn't too long, so I actually got Popeyes.
We were a little bit earlier today.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't right before they closed. Mm-hmm. So I got a whole bunch of Popeyes. Probably too much Popeyes, if I'm brutally honest about it, but the nearest Popeyes to us is like a 20-minute drive, and it's not worth it. So, I don't have it that often, which is pity because it's actually pretty good. But anyway,
this is not a Popeyes review podcast.
Yeah, I know. So yeah, collapse of the Airbnb, sleep, etc., etc., etc. Got up the next morning, and then it was basically a case of okay, what time do we want to be there? Mm-hmm. And once again, there wasn't anything super early morning that we wanted to do.
But I did want to check out the dealer's hall so I could get like some Neopets pins and some stuff like that from the people who are the nice vendors, just to kind of say thank you to them. And I've gotten some Neopets stuff at cons. I kind of want to pay it forward to other Neopets fans at future cons because I'm not really much of a pin person, but like I want to give them out as gifts. So I figured I would support a vendor and then make some other people happy a little bit later.
Yep.
And I knew that we wanted to get there early because I knew that they were at that point capping vendor spaces. As a person with a disability badge, I might have been able to get in otherwise, but I would also just prefer to shop when it's quieter. So we did that.
Yep. So yeah, packed up the Airbnb, did the usual, ate a pint of ice cream. Mm-hmm. We should explain that.
Well, part of the reason we did leave the con a little bit early today is because one of our favorite restaurants and one of the few that works or is good about portion sizes for my digestive system is this restaurant called Seasons 52.
Yep.
That tends to do a little bit of lighter fare, which is easier because particularly with me, I have to be careful about ingesting too much food or it can be bad for my stomach. And it's just not fun to go to a restaurant and have to portion out exactly how much you can eat. So I tend to like to go to restaurants where I can just eat the entire plate.
Yep.
Which Seasons is very good about doing. I saw they were doing a special Easter menu, which was a little bit risky, but I really wanted to try it.
Yeah.
And thus far, it's been good. Knock on car.
Yeah. Here's some available water. Yeah. It is my skull. There you go.
Thank you. But I also Bluebell is an ice cream I grew up with. I'm not going to get into the Listeria controversy. Don't ask.
Okay.
But I found out they were also doing a kind of lower portioned ice cream that I wanted to try while I was down here, but I realized I couldn't handle both, so I made you just kind of eat this pint of ice cream.
Yep.
So
we can't transport.
Yeah, we can't do that.
There's plenty of stuff we can transport home without too many problems.
Yep.
A pint of ice cream is not one of those things. It will not survive a 7-hour car drive. So yeah, so I ate that this morning. While packing up the car.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So at that point, we went over to the con, and so got in, got parked. Interestingly, there wasn't a massive amount of parking, or there was still a lot of cars there.
Well, I suspect a lot of people were staying at the hotel and just left their cars there all weekend.
Yeah. I think there was also an Easter event going on next door.
Yeah, it was Easter Day today.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, we should actually admit, one thing we forgot to mention about Saturday when we arrived was there was a protest going on.
Oh, yeah. It was a good protest.
Yeah. But they were also being counter-protested.
Well, I don't know if they were being counter-protested so much as that dude was so confused about what was going on. He thought that was just the same protest.
Okay, they had a bunch of signs that were very clearly pro-LGBTQ messaging.
Yeah.
He had a sign talking about God, and I heard him yelling through a megaphone at one point that evolution is a lie.
Yeah, I heard that, but half the stuff he was yelling was so nonsensical that I'm not convinced he was kind of one of those people that was all the way there.
Yeah, quite possibly. But anyway, so that was going on Saturday morning. Yeah.
But it was fun because obviously most furries are pretty left-leaning, so there's a lot of honking for the protesters and support of it and stuff like that. So. Yep. And I do get that No Kings protest and stuff like that are they're not necessarily going to be effective at policy change, but they are effective in terms of disability and reminding people that they're not alone in America right now, and I think that's a really important thing.
Yeah. And
studies do show that if you have 10% of the population rebelling, then that's enough to create social change in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And that's not that much.
So yeah. Yeah, so on Sunday, again, there was definitely something going on at the building next door, which was a old theatre, I believe. I think it was a 100-year-old theatre, which was clearly some kind of Easter event.
Yeah.
Which, we steer clear of.
Yeah, there were a lot of kids out there, though, so I hope some people were out in fursuits to play with the kids at some point.
Yep. Because, again, kids tend to like looking at furries.
Yep.
They're basically just giant plushies.
Yep. And not all furries, but some furries do particularly like making kids' eyes light up and giving them hugs and things like that, so... Yeah.
But yeah, so that was going on. So we got to the door.
Yep.
And you realised that we'd forgotten the con badges.
We just forgot them in the car, though.
Yep. So we basically just went back to the car and went back over again.
Yep.
But so one thing that was a little disappointing for you today is you are not in a ball gown today.
Yes.
You are in your swan sweater.
Yes.
And the reason for that is it is a long drive home.
Mm-hmm.
We were going out to lunch, it was officially a brunch menu after this. And you knew that there was nowhere in the venue you could possibly get changed. Unless we went up to a random person and said, hey, can we borrow your hotel room for 10 minutes to get changed?
Mm-hmm.
It was not happening at this convention center.
The bathrooms were already pretty crowded and tight because there were only realistically 2 of them. There just wasn't another space I could find that was realistic to change in. So I did get a compliment on my swan sweater, but it's just... It kind of like how some people feel more like themselves in their fursuits. I feel like more myself, particularly at cons and ball gowns. So,
so it was mostly just a case of, we ended up having to go lower key.
Yeah. Though I will say because the venue was so cold, wearing a sweater today was nice in that capacity.
Yeah. Yeah, you didn't actually have to steal my coat at any point today.
Nope.
That was a pleasant change. Sorry. But yeah, so... we got in through security, and then the main thing we were doing today was just the charity auction. But before that, we went to the vendors hall, which again at that point was pretty quiet.
Yep.
So you want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we went through the vendors hall. It was hard for me to find the booth I was looking for with the Neopet stuff, but I recognized the Neopet stuff eventually at about the same time you recognized the people who were running the booth.
Yep.
Granted, one of them was in a kukara head yesterday, so I didn't know what they were looking like. Didn't know what they looked like, but we recognized their spouse, so.
spouse,
or
partner.
partner. I know they hinted or they said stuff that gave me the context that they were likely together.
Yeah,
but I don't know if they're married or not.
Yeah, like the other person running the store with
Yes.
them. Now, again, we shouldn't assume anything.
No.
But yeah, so you bought some pins.
Yes.
Oh.
Which I hope to give out at other cons. They were also very cute.
Yep.
And I like their stall a lot. I hope to see them at future events.
Again, we have seen them before. I think they mentioned them more in the Ohio area.
Yeah.
So there's a non-zero chance we'll see them at something like Anthro, Ohio.
Mm-hmm. And I will admit, furry cons are similar to steampunk cons. They don't have quite as much artisanal stuff at steampunk as that steampunk cons do, but most of their stuff is at least artisanal in terms of design.
Yeah.
You're going to have designs that people design and then offload to somebody else to actually make.
Yes.
But pretty much everything there is either original design or, like, there's very little stuff that's just bought off Temu.
Yeah.
Or if it is bought off Temu, it's bought off Temu and then used to make something else with, which is fine, I think.
Yep.
Because finding a wholesaler if you're an independent artist is hard. So. Sorry, we're going through Tobalt number 3.
I think this should be the last one, fortunately.
So this was very fun. We also got to talk to them again, which was also very fun.
Yeah. Again, we like making friends at cons and just, like, being sociable and personable and, like, all of that stuff. It's just
all
nice.
of the ables.
Yep. Thank you. Likewise.
I really feel like toll booth interactions are like missing in the YouTube podcast space generally. They're like we went through an entire mukbang section of people like eating at some point. We went through people just opening packages at some point. I really feel like toll booths need to be up there with like random stuff people do that other people just like watching or witnessing for some reason.
I mean, that's fair. This is the first one that didn't give us 2 quarters back as change, incidentally.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this one's given us like smaller change.
That's confusing.
Yeah, they were probably out of quarters.
Probably.
So there's like nickels and dimes and stuff in there.
Why do they only take cash?
I don't know. But anyway. So yeah, that I believe is the last one. Maybe. Who knows? So yeah, anywho. What was the... yes. Then we went to the charity auction.
Yeah. Which they opened pretty early. Like, we were both doing a quick bathroom break, which I can actually do in the normal bathroom this time.
Yeah, you didn't have to fight a hoop skirt.
Yep. And they opened doors about 20 minutes early.
Which is good.
Yep. So the program coordinator was hanging out there, so we chatted with them a bit. And they did actually explain some of the items to us, which is cool.
Yep.
Based on when our season's reservation was, I was kind of unoptimistic about bidding for anything, just because they didn't have, when they were explaining the bidding process, like a lot of charity auctions will have bidding in the room, or let you pay in the room. This, you had to wait till the end of the auction to like go back over to the charity panel to pay for it.
Yes. And again, our reservation was at 1:30.
Yeah.
And we double-checked that morning, and it was about a 30-minute drive to the
and
restaurant.
at 12:45, so we possibly could have made it, but we knew the Easter bookings were going to be pretty tight.
Yeah.
So we wanted to make sure that we got over there in time.
Yeah, because again, this brunch menu was only running until 2 o'clock.
Mm-hmm.
So anybody who wanted that was, in that time slot. So yeah, so bunch of items.
Mm-hmm.
They had a lot of banners because they actually sold their room banners and things.
Yes.
Most of which went for a decent chunk of change. And I very much appreciated the one of the people from the the team behind the banners being like, yeah, we're not going to sell you the stand, but if you want to know what type we use, we'll happily give you the Amazon URL. They're like $15. So if you wanted something to display it, you could buy it pretty cheap.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yep.
And yeah, these went for a lot of money. People were very into them.
Yep.
And I think it was smart to auction them off first, because they were definitely a little bit rushed towards the end.
Yes.
And otherwise, they had some fairly typical fare, like some stuff that most freight cons will sell stuff that people like draw stickers on and things like that.
Yeah.
They did have a bunch of boards with stickers on it, I think, from the previous year's con. Part of the problem was that they were just so big that I don't think most people had means of transporting them.
Yeah, that's always an issue with those kind of boards. Like, unless you know they're going to be a thing you want to bid on, and you have, like a flatbed truck, you're gonna have problems transporting them.
Yeah.
And arranging transportation for them, or the con arranging transportation for them, is difficult.
Yeah.
So, but again, a lot of various bits and bobs, some plush. Trying to even think what else there was.
They had an air fryer that people also drew a bunch of stuff on.
Yep. Which was a new air fryer that all the staff had signed.
Yeah.
It was just like, yeah, there's also stuff in the air fryer, so don't use it until you take all that stuff out.
Yeah, I did like that they had multiple things with items inside them, because there was a backpack with items inside them.
Yep.
There was a sweater that was really cute. They had some plush. I felt bad because a couple of the items just didn't have time to even get to.
Yep.
One of which was a Magikarp plush, and I felt bad for that Magikarp plush.
Yeah.
Poor Magikarp.
It is the most useless Pokemon.
No, it's not. It's special.
Granted, it evolves into Gyarados, which is actually pretty dang powerful.
I like Magikarp.
Yep. Again, I spent, as soon as we spotted the Magikarp, I kept referencing Business Magikarp, Colossal Con.
And check out Colossal Con East, technically.
Yeah.
So check out that episode if you want to know more about Business Carp.
Yep.
And kudos to Business Carp. You've created a character that we remember, which is the most ultimate compliment from improv.
Yep. So, yeah. So
yeah, they were a little bit rushed at the end, so they did start bundling some lots, and I don't think they technically sold everything. But that's okay.
Again, it happens.
They still raised a ton of money for charity.
They did. Yeah, I think it's mostly just a case of maybe it needed a full 2-hour time slot.
Yeah.
Again, I think it was running up against the.
They had dance battles, which is improvised dance, the day before, and then they had the dance competition, which is performance routine dance on Sunday. Which it is interesting that it seems the battle competition seems to be the one that keeps getting the more popular time slot these days.
Yeah, and I wonder why.
No, maybe it's just more popular generally.
Yeah.
So yeah, and I suspect that some people who are running the charity auction also had to be judging the dance battle or dance competition, so they probably ran off to do that.
Yep. But again, they definitely raised a bunch of money. Which is always good. But again, some stuff went as with basically every charity auction.
It's very random what goes for what amount of money.
Yeah, some stuff will go for way more than it's realistically worth because the people bidding on it, A, want it, and B, are quite willing to give a lot of money to charity. And sometimes some stuff will go for an absolute steal because you're just the only person in the room who wants it for whatever reason.
So yeah, I'll be interested to see, because we are planning on donating some items to the Anthro Ohio auction to see where they ended up. It's for charity, it's not a big deal. But
yeah, we're just curious.
Yep.
So yeah, so at that point we briefly said goodbye to a couple of people and then hit the road. Yeah.
And I think if we hadn't had the season things, we might have stayed a bit later, but there was another law period with the dance battle going on, and I didn't really want to wait around for the 3 o'clock stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So we went to seasons. Shouldn't be part of the podcast review, but their brunch was very good.
Yep.
And then and then we stopped at the round 1 in Greensboro on the way back to give ourselves an hour break before we started recording to just break up the drive a little bit more.
Yep.
We won plushies.
Yes, we did.
Yay, more plushies.
There must always be more plush. The plush collection must ever grow.
And we need to send Linz a pic of the pile of friendship.
Oh, yeah, we do, don't we? The pile of friendship is a problem.
Yep.
But yeah, so that was, Bewhiskered. Do we want to talk about what we didn't do?
Yes. So there were multiple dance competitions we didn't go to because it's not really our thing.
Yep.
There is still programming going on because they have programming going on till 11 o'clock tonight.
Which, again, is very interesting and not that common for a con. My guess is they assume that because it's the Easter weekend, a lot of people will have Monday off.
Yeah, we just don't.
We don't.
They have Event Horror Stories, which is about to start in 40 minutes.
Yep.
Tattoo Show and Tell. These are just things that are still going on.
Yep.
Figure drawing. Who's Your Bowser?
Okay.
Turn up the heat on the many different forms of Bowser. Cool. My Little Pony games, Jackie's Absurdity Hour 3.0, more dances. It is normal for them to have a dead dog dance, which I think they're having. They just refer to it as the nightly dance.
Yep.
Bunch of meetups for different fur groups. That's pretty common. So cat meetup, dog meetup, bird meetup, all that.
Yep.
History of pinball.
Sure.
Yep.
Again, that's on con theme, I suppose.
Somebody doing a panel on how to do acrobatic rolls. That's cool.
Fun times.
Several meetup for people who are just furries in the area. So
Yep.
that's cool. Another game show panel about Deltarune, that show that I don't know anything about.
Yeah, I vaguely heard of Deltarune.
It's the TV time show.
Yeah.
But I've never seen it, so.
Yep.
A bunch of sketch-based panels, and again, I don't read these out verbatim just because there's most stuff. Gaming tournaments. They had a photo booth or photo room. We didn't go into that because we're not much into taking photos, but they had it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's, I think, a pretty good list.
Yep. So they did also have a quiet room, which
yes.
we contemplated going in at one point. I can't remember why we didn't go in.
I think it's mostly just because I realized we wanted a drink. We couldn't go in the quiet room and have a drink, even though drinking just calmed me down. So.
Yep. Yeah, so instead we went out to the lobby and.
Yeah, we probably should have gone in at once just to review it.
Probably, but again, like, it's hard to remember to do everything sometimes.
Yep. To be clear, the only reason we review it is sometimes quiet rooms are legitimate quiet rooms. Sometimes they're more hangout rooms. I tend to prefer it when they're effectively quiet rooms, but I do get that you don't really want somebody in there policing people. And that's not anything about this con. That's just a general issue.
Yeah. So, yeah. So, favorite con moments?
Okay.
I do not remember whose turn it is to go first, so after you.
I thought it was your turn to go first.
I have no idea.
Fine. I will pick the Neopets panel. You weren't going to pick that anyway.
Yep.
It was amazing. I enjoyed just really talking to people at the table about Neopets.
I'm going to pick yelling the names of various kinks that we really wanted to turn up next so we could complete bingo.
Mm-hmm.
That was fun. That was stupid. I enjoyed that a lot.
I will pick the game show panel because I thought that was a very well done game show panel with all the different games and watching all the fursuiters compete in it.
Yeah, that was great fun. Yeah. So I have to pick my terrible artwork.
Do you want to?
Probably.
Yay! Terrible artwork.
Yeah, the audience reaction to my terrible artwork specifically.
Mm-hmm.
You know, again, like the one thing I will actually praise that panel for is they had one of those cameras that just point straight down.
Oh yeah, that was nice. You could see everyone's art in detail.
Yeah, so it got projected on the screen, which is very useful for showing off the terribleness of my artwork.
I will pick Fursuit Games because that was actually a lot of fun to watch with all its chaos.
Yep. The Price is Right panel.
Oh yeah, that was great.
That was, oh god, you guys found some weird nonsense.
As a reminder, these aren't in any form of order. These are just like random moments we happen to like a lot.
Yep. So yeah. So, now for the biggie.
Yep.
For anybody who's not listened to this podcast before, our final rating is based on a single question. The question is simple. It's, would we go back?
And if you have listened to this before, you've heard the spiel. Originally, we've had a more serious rating system, and we realized that was lame, and we shouldn't be ranking cons in that way because they are a marker of creativity, and they are largely run by volunteers, and we try to understand that.
Yeah. So the actual question is actually a lot more complicated than it seems at first, because it factors in how long a drive is it, how expensive is the city it's hosted in going to be from an Airbnb standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Because like if it's an hour drive away from our house in Columbus, that's a much cheaper con for us to attend. So the actual, so that means we're not spending as much money, and we can justify it even if it's not as good.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it's a 7-hour drive, it does have to be a real. We say we were absolutely go back to this con, then it was a very good con.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas a solid, enjoyable con that's a 4-hour drive might end up saying going on the maybe list. So it's actually a surprisingly complex question.
And it's also something that's obviously entirely subjective to us. If you live in a different part of the world than us, or if you have different accessibility issues than I have, or if you're like taking the bus instead of driving, all of those things are going to factor into it too.
Yes.
Both how annoying it is and how expensive it is going to be entirely different for you than it is for us.
Exactly.
Which is why it's not terribly useful.
But I still maintain it's better than just like having a grading system.
Yeah, it's definitely better than a grading system. But keep in mind that this con was 7-ish hours away.
Yep.
So its standard would be a lot higher for us than a con that was an hour away.
So, would we go back?
that would depend, I think, on a lot of factors. Like,
Yeah.
if there was bag check, no.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do this again.
Yeah, bag check is a big no-no for us, I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie.
Bag check and metal detectors, like, no food and drink. Like, I would not be able to handle that another year in a row.
No. That is pretty, like, I'm kind of on the same wavelength. Like, I would happily go to this event again.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even with the drive, I had fun with it, but I think that is going to ultimately be our sticking point.
Yeah, and it would, I think, still have to be on Easter weekend, just because that's an easier weekend for us to manage than most other weekends for a con that's this drive.
Yes, I would agree with that. If it was a day I had to take a day off work, probably couldn't justify it.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas, again, the Easter weekend, I can make it that work. At least in part because my boss was out the office on Thursday because they've got kids. So,
Yep.
I'm a lot less stressed at work whenever my boss is not there. Again, this is not a ranting about my job podcast, unfortunately, but it is occasionally. But So anyway, so I think it does go in the maybe pile.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I had fun at what we did. Like, the panels themselves are actually, for the most part, very good. It's a very long way, and the venue was fighting you.
Yeah.
It was fighting you hard.
The free parking I loved.
Free parking was great, but having to constantly go through that security bag check stuff, no, not worth it. You and I commented that if we'd known when we decided to go to this con that was going to be a thing, we wouldn't have come.
Yeah, that's true. Like, had we known in advance, we would have just scratched out the no list, because particularly with, like, accessibility issues and stuff like that, it's just, bag checks for us are hard now.
Yeah.
Like, they just are. I don't like them. Like, we barely tolerate the metal detectors at GalaxyCon, and you saw well that ran. And to be clear, it was nothing like that, if you want to read that episode, in terms of it being weirdly inaccessible, but not having outside food or drink and having that policy. Like, there's some cons that say, or in menus that say, quote unquote, no outside food or drink, but no one's checking and no one really cares.
Yep. Yeah, we had that at, was it OMG Con?
OMG Con was like that. Colossal Con technically has that policy. No one follows it.
Yeah, no. I've never seen anybody care.
Well, the Kalahari would lose so much money if they tried to enforce that.
Yep.
So yeah, it's definitely on the maybe pile, I think, but it is something for which, if it's another year that's this bad in terms of bag checks and stuff like that and event security, I don't think we could swing it again. So,
yeah.
But if they made changes and it was still on Easter weekend, I would definitely go back because we did have fun.
We did. But again, I freely admit, I would be a little worried that we would get the same thing would happen. Like, we'd be halfway through the drive down, and then we find out they're going to be bag checking again. I'm like, yeah. So yeah, like, it's not a bad con. It's a good con. It's just one that was fighting its venue.
Yeah. And I will admit, I've never seen a con that is this small have that level of security, ever. I've seen some of the bigger ones, and I can sort of understand that, although I don't agree with it. But a con of this size just does not need that level of security.
Yeah. Like, again, this is not a criticism of the con staff in any way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I get that this was forced on you, and I get the impression it was forced on you late in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
But I know you're negotiating the hotel contract soon. Please have it written into the contract that this isn't allowed again. And if it doesn't, I would highly recommend going somewhere else.
Yeah. Because again, for one thing, I think you were pushing your luck in terms of, like, I know FurCons have been growing, so I do wonder to what extent they were expecting it to be this busy, and to what extent they, might need to move to another bigger venue again. I honestly don't know.
Well, this is part of the problem, is that as FurCons are growing, they are kind of outgrowing the smaller venues and need the mid-size venues now. And the problem is the mid-size venues are harder to book, are more expensive, and they're typically taken up by, like, weddings that are willing to pay a lot more, which means it's harder to find spaces for them because they're still too small to be in some of the bigger convention centers generally.
This is true.
But they're not big, but they're also too big to just be in regular hotel convention centers, and that mid-ground, I think, is really hard for a lot of them.
Yeah. But again, as we always say, there isn't a single convention in the world that has the perfect venue at the perfect price, looks at it and goes, we're going to go somewhere else that's worse. No con does that. everything is a trade-off, everything is a compromise. We know that.
Mm-hmm.
And we do want to be respectful of that. It does mean that if it wasn't for the security, I think I'd be saying more nice things about this venue.
I do too.
I'm going to be brutally honest. There were a couple of times during the weekend when the vibe I was getting from the hotel staff was that they didn't want you guys there.
Yeah.
And that wasn't all the time. That wasn't all of them.
And yeah, plenty of them were very nice.
Yeah, there was one. There was one point where I had to run out to the car to get your glasses.
Yep.
And when I came back through, the security person was just like, "Hey, where's your lady? Where's the person in the fabulous dress?" I'm like, "She's already in there. She just left her glasses in the car." And they were like, "Oh no, go!" Like again, it was it was a fun, cute interaction because that person had seen you earlier in the day, thought you looked magnificent, and they took the time to tell you.
Yeah.
So it definitely was not all of the hotel staff, but a couple of them, they were giving off the "what are you freaks doing in my hotel" vibe.
Yeah. And part of us wondered if the hotel just didn't realize what a FurCon was and got really mad about it last minute.
Like, I don't... That was the vibe I was getting at a couple of points. I honestly do not know.
Yeah, we don't know the behind-the-scenes story. You might also not know the behind-the-scenes story with this, because it does seem like the metal detector thing was sprung on you guys late.
Yeah. So, yeah. So that was Bewhiskered 2026. Yeah. Again, we had fun.
We did.
We really did. Everything we say, we always say with love.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And we know the furry community is a community that cares a lot about its fans and having them have a good experience. And I've never met a con staff for a furry convention, including this one, who seems like they don't care. Like, they want the event to be the best event possible. And
Absolutely.
That means so much to me.
So, next week, I have no idea if there's going to be an episode or not. As we mentioned, next week we will be babysitting a bunch of teenagers playing board games literally for 24 hours straight.
Yeah. Maybe we'll get them to do a podcast. Probably not.
Probably not. We're not.
And keep in mind, like, we normally record this in our car on Sunday. We cannot drive on Sunday. It's not safe for us to drive on Sunday if we were up all night. Yeah. So we will not be doing that.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll record something on Friday. Maybe we'll go to the roller derby thing on Saturday and do the thing on the evening. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
This is also kind of a rough week of work for me. So
yeah. Again, there's various things going on. Plus, you're definitely reaching the end of the semester. Why isn't this over yet? Phase.
Oh yeah.
Which I don't get to have that because I'm stuck working over the summer.
Yeah, and both of our jobs are difficult. They're just difficult in different ways. Mine's difficult because it's mentally taxing and hard, and I'm trying to deal with a bunch of trying to put a hose on AI fires, as well as trying to deal with students who actually care, while trying to deal with students who have actual problems, as well as dealing with changes to academic structure. People really do not realize how much professors do. They think that we're just in front of a classroom reading PowerPoint slides. That's maybe 10% of my job at most.
Yep.
So yeah, it's just been that time, and I kind of want it to be summer so I can just stop worrying about work stuff and start enjoying I've been really looking forward to cons this summer, so I'm really there's just a lot that I'm looking forward to when school ends. So particularly because April doesn't have much, so I don't think there's really another con until CausyCon.
Yeah.
Which will be the next, I think, big con we do.
Yep.
Yeah. CausyCon's not actually that big, but it's a con. So.
Yeah. Whereas my job's just mostly tedious, and again, I just stress out about various parts of it. So yeah.
Thank you we're great with the outro section.
Oh, we're terrible with the outro section. By the time we reach the outro section, only people who nobody listens. It's fine.
Some people listen.
This is true.
We have evidence that some people listen.
True. So yeah. So with that said, I think at this point we are done for the episode.
Yep.
So thank you very, very much for listening. If you're still here, why? And we'll we'll see you in the next episode when hopefully I won't still have this cold.
Yep, we might do a con ranking episode or something next week. I don't know. We'll figure that one out.
We'll have a think about it.
Yep.
It's largely going to depend on how tired we are.
Yeah. By the way, if you are still listening to this and want to invite us to any cons, like if you're paying for it, that's absolutely amazing and great. But also if you just like want us to come to a con and review, if it's something we can swing financially, we're perfectly happy to at least consider doing that.
Yeah.
So if that's something you want, let us know. Because we know that a lot of people actually do appreciate our reviews for their particular cons. So cool.
Okay.
Yep.
So thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.